Hello, can you all hear me? Testing. Oh, okay. Hi there. Hello. Yo, what's up? Okay. I almost have this all set up. Let me... I'm trying a new stream setup. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this. Oh, wait. Oh, there we go. Okay, there's my cursor. Okay. I'm trying to level up my stream a little bit here. So this is the first test run of this. Let's see. Let me know if you can hear the... I guess I would have to do it through this. Hopefully it works. Can you all hear the keyboard now? Okay, fantastic. That's not... It's too laggy for me though, but the piano... This is real time. It's probably too quiet. It sounds too quiet to me at least. You love Lumatone? Yeah, me too. I'll have a Lumatone cam soon for the stream. Okay, that's probably better. Okay, now... Ooh. Thanks for all the recent support, everyone. I really appreciated it. It's allowed me to get to a little bit more musical stuff in my life, which is really comfortable. Okay, now I want to get this to have lower latency. Oh, I see why. Okay, I think I'll be good here in just a second. Let's see. No, that's still pretty laggy for me. How's everyone doing today? Is everyone having a lovely day? Oh, okay. Let me fix this. Oh, darn it. I messed up, I think. There we go. Okay. I think it's working now. Can you hear me? Oh. Can you all hear me now? Did I make it work properly? Hello? Is that better? Hello? Can you all hear me? Am I the same audio quality? Okay, I think the audio stuff's fixed. Cool. You can't hear me right now? The audio's good? Okay, great. And I think that keyboard now is coming through too. Let me just go. Are you the person behind all this craziness? Yeah, that's me. Hi. You love all the crazy chords? Thanks. I should have a new rare chords video out tomorrow. I think I'll be able to finish the editing for that at some point tonight. Yeah, I've meant to do it sooner, but it's been done for a little bit. There's a little bit of latency still on it. It's hard to really play properly. And then I want to make sure this is a good volume as well. You should write a book or article about your theory. It's a whole new world. Thank you, I am. I'm writing several books and several articles simultaneously. I actually just made a music Patreon. I have a Discord server. I'm actually posting my philosophies. I've tons of my theories and chords. I mean, I'm just sort of putting all my stuff there right now until I can compile it in a more expressible format. I have written a lot. I've been working on my primodality treatise for about 2 years now, and I also applied for a fellowship thing to do that over the spring. So hopefully that pans out. I'm supposed to figure out sometime this month or something actually about that. So hopefully that goes well. But yeah, no, I am writing my stuff down, and you actually can learn from it. It exists. Thousands of posts and stuff, and yeah, so hi, welcome JG. It's nice to see you all here. You love 31 tight because it sounds real close to 12. We'll have all the cool stuff. Yeah, I actually feel kind of similarly. I just feel like 31, it represents, I mean, I prefer just intonation. I hope everyone understands that and knows that. Just intonation is where all of my kind of perspective kind of not necessarily comes from about composition, but about timbre and about how to space and voice and interpret structures. And, you know, I think that's what a lot of, so yeah, I think fell down a rabbit hole. I really like 31 because I feel like it's right about the amount of notes that you'd want. I feel like 29 is good. I've spent time in 29. I've spent time in 31. I spent time mostly in 29 just intonated, like a near equal JI from like, it was like a 11, 19 kind of hybrid thing like that. So that was really cool. And I felt like that was, 29 is a great form. It's like the extended Pythagorean form or whatever. And I feel like 31 is a great form too. 34 is lovely, but 34, you know, if you want to have the backwards compatibility from 12 equal, it's just really not very suited for that. So I think, you know, yeah. Hi everyone, welcome. Thank you. Just playing some sounds here. Hi, AK, it's nice to see you. With your gift to the internet, being the music professor we don't deserve and making those, thank you. I really appreciate that. I would say the internet is a bit of a gift for me. It's allowed me to sort of live an existence where I sort of just make my thing and stress myself about my own creations, and I think that's sort of what's allowed me to that would have worked in 12. I forgot. I have to go down 2 semitones, not 3. I'm very new to all the tunings because I could only experience how amazing they are through compositions on YouTube. Couldn't go deeper because you don't have the access. In what way don't you have the access? Would you say that you don't have the gear or the note? What do you feel limited in? I suppose is a sort of important understanding there. how do you train your ear to hear these smaller divisions? I don't train my ear to hear small divisions. I train my ear to hear the octave spectrum and the multi-octave, the spectrum itself, not the octave spectrum. The octave spectrum is an important starting point, but it's the whole this thing. It's the whole vertical structure, and that's kind of the key to timbre. And so you can't. I don't really kind of feel like I can hear like divisions, like equal divisions. That doesn't really make sense to me. I can hear like through the spectrum where there's points that draw and pull, and those are the harmonic nodes. And those are only special because most timbres we use are pseudo-harmonic. So, if I was playing like an inharmonic bell, I probably wouldn't tune or think about tuning the same way necessarily. I did some of that in other pieces. What do you do for a living? I teach voice. I teach people different voice stuff. I also make music. I mean, I would say I do multiple things. I have a Patreon for my voice work. I have my music Patreon, which if anyone is listening and wants to support the creation of my music and what I'm doing with my philosophies and stuff, that would be the best place to do that. It just really specifically helps me focus more on music. And then I also... yeah, that's it mostly. I teach music, voice, You're so good at whistling, it sounds like an extension of your voice. Thank you. It's actually really frustrating because I often accidentally whistle when I don't want to. So like my friend and person who helped me set up this cool, awesome set, she's been here for the past couple of days helping me do stuff, and I get really frustrated because I don't want to always whistle so much, but I'm just sort of always, I don't know, it's what I have to, it's like I do it when I focus. So if I need to like do an email or I have to do a task that's very difficult, I sort of just whistle and get I spin out the melodies, or I do those sorts of things. It's kind of the way like I sort of focus. I had a big breakthrough on it recently, at least the whistling stuff. It's easier to whistle around 12. That's kind of what at least musically, I've whistled around the most. I don't think it matters too much, but... Yeah, the whistle is like a fidget for you. That's exactly correct, yeah. So, I mean, I'm always making sound in some capacity or experiencing sound. It's very difficult or uncomfortable for me not to. Everything I do, I work with sound when I'm working with my students or working on the resources that I make. The things that are really difficult for me to do are the things that don't have sound, like emails, and like organizational stuff and keeping in contact with people and stuff like that. It's very difficult for me to do those things, but when it comes to musical stuff, it's much simpler. This needs to get closer to me. Hold on a second. I'm gonna put the 12 equal piano out of the way for a second so I can be a little more relaxed playing. There we go. I think that's a little better. Where did you learn about music theory? I taught myself music theory. I did go to school for music composition and music theory, and I had a great professor, Christine Boone, and I'm really thankful for her. Really, all of my mentors and professors and people I'm really incredibly grateful for, and I send my love to them. But generally speaking, for the theory thing, I was kind of already on my own kind of track and wave before I got into university. I got really obsessed with music, and I sort of downloaded and also spent all the money that I had on music theory books, and I kind of went from like the early history of music forward, and I kind of went all through all the music theory stuff. So I kind of did that before I got into university for music, and it made it a lot easier for me. There were actually many things that I would clash with some of the faculty on who were maybe less theory inclined but thought they were more theory inclined. Like, for example, some things about the seventh chord that I had learned and read in Schoenberg's theory of harmony, and I was like talking about these things, and they're like, no, it doesn't, that chord doesn't work that way, or this thing doesn't function that way. I was like, well, Schoenberg told me it did, and I think he knows what he's talking about. So, I mean, I do think Schoenberg knew what he was talking about quite a lot, and I would say that he's one of my main mentors. So when I think about sort of theory pedagogues who I'm very influenced by, Schoenberg was a big influence. I would say probably the biggest influence on me. Bill Evans was a very big influence on me. Debussy, Ravel, the music of Ravel has been a big influence on me. So yeah, that's kind of, and then of course I've always loved like electronic music and like hip hop and like death metal and like prog stuff. So I love sounds that are incredibly heavy and aggressive and extreme and but then also really soft and pretty. And I just love the hyper contrast of consonant and dissonant and, you know, a wide spectrum, narrow spectrum, and just really anywhere there's contrast, having extreme amounts of it in both directions. Like I love like if you ever heard of this old progressive deathcore band, Substructure, they had like one album. They were together for like 2.5 years. They played a couple shows, did a tour out east, and then broke up. I love Substructure, and that's kind of in the also it's in the kind of same vein as the Contortionists. So it's also in the same vein that kind of prog metal band was into. I was always into that light, hard, soft, heavy thing or whatever. Love that dichotomy. Bravo, that's awesome. Thanks. Schoenberg to go, agreed. Uncle Arnie said it was okay. Yeah, exactly. If Schoenberg says it's okay, it's okay. And you know, yeah. Let's see. What are some of your favorite current metal bands? I'm not gonna lie, I haven't listened to a lot of metal bands recently. I got invited to a metal show, which I really liked. That was really a fun show to go to. I haven't listened to a lot of metal recently. I've honestly been listening to mostly like EDM at like 122 beats per minute because I've been working on shuffling, and then it's a good stem music when I need to focus. Otherwise, I've been working on my own music, or I've been listening to a lot of K-Tronada, a lot of hip hop, just a lot of pop stuff. I feel in the last couple of years, really, my listening has been mostly pop music, and I feel that's given me a much stronger sense of melody that I was maybe lacking in the past. So I'm grateful for that, and I just still feel like, I don't know, I'm kind of in that pop wave right now. A lot of neo soul stuff, a lot of like Ariana Grande stuff, but I don't know. I usually listen to stuff that's not like typically what I write. There have been points in my life where what I listen to is similar to what I write, but I feel the further I go on my journey, the further I end up going from everybody else, and so the more I sort of have to kind of rely on my own wits to navigate me as opposed to sort of the path that's been laid in the past. Let's see. What are some, so yeah, current favorite metal bands. I'll just name some metal bands that come to mind. I like Tesseract. I like the Contortionists. I like what's that one band? They're an Australian progressive rock metal band. Goliath. They have a song called Carnival. That's what they're called. They're really good. I haven't listened to much metal recently. Let's see. Are 31 EDO and 22 EDO the most common microtunings? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I certainly think they're common ones. I tend to think that 19 tends to be maybe the most common, or something like 7 or 5. It depends on what you mean, and it depends on how you define microtonal. Because I mean, human, civilizations have been using pentatonic and near equiheptatonic and equipentatonic scales for histories and centuries and whatever, and those have been microtonal. So microtonality is not new, right? That's what is strange to me about the whole thing. Like, yes, like the way I'm approaching it in harmony, and like the way that others are doing it in a more like whatever way, like that's new, like a new perspective. But using pitches that aren't equal is not a new phenomenon. That's the oldest phenomenon. Our voices aren't equal, right? Our voices are harmonic and they move freely. And so, and most early music was around rhythm and voice, right? So this idea of it being something different. But no, 22 is great. 22 gives you this energy of extending sort of super Python away. You get these really cool, good 11th harmonic approximations. The fifth sound really shiny. I feel like the Lydian is very energetic. It's a really nice quality. 31 for me just feels a little bit more future proof. So when I think about, okay, I like 31, I like the way it sounds, but I like just intonation. And if I was just doing stuff for me, I would just write just intonation. But I'm also trying to create like theory that can allow other people to like expand musical language and resources and stuff. And so I feel like 31 is like the most future proof, and like it's the place where we can likely actually go. You know what I mean? I feel like 22 is as well, but it's like a really different path. And that might be what is attractive. But I feel like for a future-proof system, you're going to want something that handles, gospel and blues and classical and, kind of modern Western music at least. And 22 doesn't really do that very well. And I mean, 31 doesn't do it perfectly either. No tuning does 12 like 12 does. 12 is like special. So is 31. Every tuning is a little special. But 31 just feels more future-proof for that reason. Let's see. In terms of me investing time, building resources and theory and stuff. Schoenberg theory works well and stuff, but it doesn't. Yeah, I know. Schoenberg he's got some funny thoughts. Like the way he thinks about the harmonic series isn't exactly accurate. There's a lot of things, but I feel that way about all the old theorists. And, when I look back at what they've done, like when I look at Parch, I love Parch, but I think he was pretty, I think his, that's the thing. It was more about the primality of his language that was so beautiful. But I think like his I feel like almost everyone's views on just intonation have been kind of like, how do I say, not in alignment with sort of how timbre expands. We've kind of been doing like extended stuff where we sequence JI, and I think that's important. For example, I think like the 32/27 is one of the most important like pivot points in just intonation that you can have, period. But vertical structure is sort of, you can't really change it. It's not really, unless you're doing this other stuff like like manipulating the spectral stuff, you can't really change the vertical structure. So you work around it, or you try to violate, or you try to bridge it, you temper it, whatever. But beautiful vertical alignment to me is a virtue in my music, and it's something that I really want to learn more about, and I still feel like I'm learning more every day. Like, for example, on my server for my Patreon stuff, just literally the other day I posted this I don't know, I'm like, my mind's like exploding about certain connections in the vertical structure and sort of cadences inside the vertical structure and stuff. So yeah, I pretty much found out about your music and can't get enough of it. Thank you. Do you come from a musical family? Not really. My father's a performer. He's always done a lot of classic rock stuff and such. He's not necessarily like super like musically focused, but he's like an entertainer, and he's like, has a great sense of like taste and aesthetic for music. But I was kind of on a musical, he kind of got me started on music, really. Not, if I got to give credit to my father on that one, because he sort of was like, you're a drummer. He said that when I was like 3 years old, and so I grew up all my life just like, I'm a drummer, huh? I wasn't a drummer. I didn't play drums, but I had it in me, like, I'm a drummer, I should play drums. And I tried to do that in middle school, and the drum line was full, so I played trombone for 2 years. Then we got a new band director, and I lied. They sent a piece of paper around, and you had to write down what instrument section you were in. And so I wrote percussion, and I became a percussionist. And then I got into rock and metal a lot more, and just the diversity of what percussion can be. Very, very, very grateful for my percussion mentor. I'm about to cry just thinking about him. He's taught me so much about being a human and understanding how to grow through music as a person. See, you're making me all cry. So no, not really musical family. Pretty self-taught, yeah. But then I ended up studying, and I've always been a self-teacher, so I'm self-teaching, and then I have found other mentor along the way, which I think good mentorship is important. Let's see. I like to play Schoenberg string quartets at home. That's nice. New theory will always be coming out unimproved, and one day we'll look back on today's theories inaccurate. So while it's still, nothing will. Microwave. I don't think tuning is, there's such thing as future proof. I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way to tune. I don't think it really matters that much. I think what matters is like what the music is, sort of the sort of internal external conversion, taking something in, and it makes you experience something, and you reciprocate that in some capacity, or the performer does. It's really that sort of magic of transmission between the internal and external, and that feedback loop that makes music so special. I don't think tuning really makes music that special. I think tuning is pretty minor in music, but I think that it's an element of music that has a profound implication for everything about music, like how to interact around music. But I don't think that means that you need it to have an important musical experience. So for that reason, tuning is sort of, it's more of, I would say learn to compose music first and then learn how to tune or learn how to use different tunings. You can learn how to compose music in different tunings, but I think the act of being a music composer, I think the act of composition is very different from tuning. The tuning influences how the composer interacts with the work and such, but composition is composition is composition, and it's been written on to death for thousands for about 600 years or so at this point, 400 years more focused, and there's so many important lessons that we can extract from the past about how to use musical material, and that's more important for someone trying to learn to compose rather than jumping into crazy tunings. Now I think if you're already writing music, you're already jamming, and you have an intuitive, you're enjoying it, other tunings are great because you just get more sounds and then you just play those sounds instead and have fun doing that. But I certainly agree with you that it's not about necessarily, when I mean future proof, what I mean to say is like the work in 31 is pretty much going to be like, it stands because it's so backwards compatible from 12. Now the circle of fifths chain breaks a little bit differently, but it's the same thing. Theorizing in like 31 is like this, it's like similar to 12 other than the tempered loops that you can't do, and those are very minor to me, especially considering like the overtone series itself is a infinite irregular divergent chord, and that's mostly what I like to play in. So future proof to me is more like, with technology, if we just expand harmony, we're probably going to end up in either rings of 12 or an extended mean tone or a very minimal, we don't even end up in Pythagorean, we don't even use that really anymore that much. We have like 12, which I think of as a Pythagorean. I really just hear it as like a kind of darkened circular pyth thing. But yeah, I don't know, it's a bit of a ramble, sorry about that. Let's see. Never knew you streamed. I didn't stream until more recently. I'm starting to. This is like my first stream like this. Would you like to do a series of videos as an introduction to microtonality? Yeah, I will. That's kind of what my Patreon is about. I'm going to start making resources like that. Right now I have a job. I have like other responsibilities and stuff. So what I teach with music and stuff is like sort of limited in some ways to that. So right now I'm just going to do whatever I think is interesting and keep sharing that. But I'm looking to do a lot more educational content. I'm going to be doing workshops on my stuff. I'll be doing more streams. I'm thinking about, this stream was actually planned to be reading 31, how to read notation for 31. That's what I was going to do on the stream. I still might do it. But this is just, I've been sort of, let's see. Do you listen to traditional microtonal stuff like gamelan? Yeah, definitely. That's so sweet of your musical mentor. They sound like a lovely human being. Yes, one of the best human beings ever. Let's see. Most present theory is inadequate for the vast majority of music. Well, I don't really think that's what theory is supposed to do. So the way you're talking about theory, it looks like you're trying to have, like, theory should have some normative function or some prescriptive function or something. I don't really think about it that way. I think about the interaction of music composition and how it touches people and how it impacts people. That's an internal process, and it's like you communicate it externally through the music, and you have no idea how it's going to go internal to the person listening. You do once you're a composer and you think about like cultural relevance and stuff, right? But I think it's not really, I don't think theory's job is to explain why things sound good. I don't think that even exists. I think that things sound good for different reasons and for different people and different experiences. Some people listen to something and go, this is so beautiful. Like, my YouTube's, I'll just use my YouTube as an example. Some people, write me messages and like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. This has changed my life. Literally, you could go, but then I also have people who are like, this is fucking dog shit, garbage, like pretentious trash, right? So I don't really think, and that's the thing, is music's happening in multiple places when it's occurring. It's happening in the person making it. It's happening outside in the shared medium that people can experience. And then it's happening back inside the person who experiences it. And all of those are beautiful, and all of those are their different sort of mediums. So I don't really think theory is supposed to explain like what, Like when I think about how I use theory or what it is for me, it's just a way for me to map my sensations into something that's more macro. I want to basically compress what it means to have that sensation into something I can communicate or navigate around more quickly, right? Like if I'm doing shorthand, like I have a sound that I know, and that's what I care about, and I need to express that to myself really quickly. And it's like, how do I do that? Well, I can't write the sound on the page. I mean, even if I write the notes, it's not the sound on the page, and even the notes on the page are a type of compression that's built for a player to read. But as like a composer or someone thinking compositionally, that's not the compression that I need. I need like the, I just need the vertical. I need to understand where I was moving. It's a different kind of compression. And so theory for me is about like understanding how to compress sensation in a way that makes it more communicatable, or in a way that makes it sort of more, it's like a good map, right? This is an analogy I read, someone posted on a server. I forget what the original quote was, so this isn't something that I have, but I've had similar thoughts. The idea is kind of like, theory is kind of like a map. It's not the territory. Like if you just sit like this is directly from that quote, if you like sit like hunched over like a navigation table, just like happy, grinning ear to ear, looking at your maps, you're not doing anything. The point of the map is to go to the place and experience the thing, or help you navigate. And so if you have the map and you're moving through the territory, the two things synergize and they save you a lot of time. They give you much greater clarity in your own thoughts. So I think that's the function of theory. It's not so much trying to explain things. That's a really good take on it. I'll keep that in mind in composing, of course. Theory is descriptive, not prescriptive. Yeah, absolutely. Hi, Ziana. I found your channel recently. I was amazed by how well you explained 31 theory. I was struggling in college to wrap my head around it. Now I have a whole new appreciation. I'm so glad to hear that. This is actually inspiring, motivational. Wonderful. Don't forget to hit that like button. I know that sounds like a advertisement, but for real, it helps me. So if you want more people to hear my ideas, if you want me to be able to do this more, or share my music and create more and post more philosophy. I haven't shared a lot of my philosophy. That's been on my server mostly. But if you like what I do and you want me to do more of it, definitely like, subscribe, whatever. I have a Patreon. I just made it a week and a half ago. I'm going to be doing streams on there where I open up my project sessions and go through my stems and stuff, where I go over compositions. I'll probably do that on YouTube too. It's like part of it, I'll be hosting workshops, and yeah. And of course, I'm always around to answer questions. Let's see. Agreed, totally. But there are always, I'll go ahead and post that too, actually. Okay, hold on a second. Oh, my keyboard's all the way over here. Wow. There we go. Because I've given... Okay, here we go. Okay, here's my Patreon. You should all go subscribe. Seriously, $3 helps. $6, great. I have a Discord server. Come hang out. Eventually the Discord server will be free for everyone. So, I want to have everybody in there who's here, But for now, I'm just sort of building up all the content in there. It'll have my discography. It'll have rare tracks of mine. It'll have essays, philosophies, thoughts, my theory as I'm working on it. All of it. It's right there. Brock Benzel's in chat. They're in my server. So what do you think about it? Has it been good so far? What do you think? Should other people subscribe, etc.? Thanks. I appreciate that help. Okay, now I'll stop the plug. I'll post it one more time. Okay. How did you get yourself into tuning and microtonality? My friend Tom Winspear actually kind of got me into it. I mean, I was always kind of aware of, microtones and things, but every time I heard it, microtones were like, and I wasn't really into that. So I was teaching Tom music theory for a couple years, and at one point they reached out to me and were like, yo, check out this music. It was Fabio Costa, aphoristic madrigal, I think is what it's called. And I heard that and I was like, okay, like this is crazy. I had an LSD trip about a month later, and I worked in the harmonic series and 31, and I heard it a different way, and ever since then I've kind of just focused on microtonal stuff generally. I still play a lot of 12, but I just enjoy microtonality a lot more options and stuff. Also I heard some other good music, Michael Harrison. That was something that kind of got me more into just Intonation around that same time. Yeah. And amazingly, what a blessing in life it's been. Both of those people who got me into that like my music. Michael Harrison has, express support for my stuff and really help me with what I'm trying to do with my primodality stuff and my writings and fellowship stuff. And then also Fabio Costa comments on my YouTube stuff and enjoys my work, and we've exchanged. It's so it's such a strange world. I'm very grateful. Let's see, that's the thing, that's why it's like I want to try to do this music thing. So like, if you're out there and you like my stuff, please try to support me. Yes, I'm fine. I have other job. I have another job. I love what I do. I love teaching voice, but like, I want to do this music thing full time. It's my soul. It's my, it's like my thing. So like, if you want to do it, help me out with it. I appreciate that. Okay. Let's see. The LSD stories. Yeah, I mean, that was an incredible experience. Someone who was in the chat was there with me, having the experience with me, and we did all that. It was amazing. So true. 12 feels eventually oversimplified. Yeah, but 12 is gorgeous. I mean, don't get me wrong. Every day I play 12. It's right in front of me on that keyboard. And every time I play 12, I'm blown away at how incredible and beautiful and simple it is. It's just so elegant. You can never be wrong in 12. You know what I mean? It's just go down a half step, move over a third. Well, you're just always good. Move down a fifth. It doesn't matter. It's so clean, and that's elegant and beautiful. And 12 is very, very special. I do think that 12 is perhaps one of the most special tunings that can ever exist, period. I mean, objectively, it's just unparalleled efficiency. Such a tiny form, pretty good sound. I mean, yes, it doesn't have more extended stuff, but I mean, it's pretty good. It's like Pythagorean circles. Let's see. Do you like Hear Between the Lines? Yeah, definitely. I think they're awesome as well. I really like the work they're doing. Also trying to do outreach around just pitch diversity in general. Have you ever listened to Wendy Carlos? Oh yeah, she's awesome. I felt like after I got into microtonality and then I learned about her and like her work, I very much felt the whole like spiritual alignment with like, with her and her background and my background. And I'm very, very grateful for her work and her pioneering. And it's amazing because I heard her work when I was in college. It was some of my first exposure to microtonality, but it was stuff that didn't really sound microtonal, right? It was like the Bach switched on Bach. I was like, this goes hard, but that's because it's like Bach and like mean tone and J.I. and stuff. Not mean tone, sorry. She was doing J.I., I think, for some of the switched on Bach. But yeah, just awesome. She is truly mother. I agree. She really is truly mother. Yeah. So can't have elegance without simplicity. Oh, true. Perhaps. Maybe. I don't know if I agree with that. There's a way you can be simple in a complex way, and there's a way you can be complex in a simple way. I think those are different, and I think that those are kind of not mutually exclusive. But I do agree in principle. I would say that I would say that elegance invites simplicity, but it's not perhaps requisite. Is siren still a thing? Anything cooking? That's a good question, Torquebo. I have 2 albums that I wrote for Sirens that I'm sitting on. I've been thinking about releasing them. I don't know if Sirens is still a thing. I would still be down to do stuff, but at this point in my life, I'm doing my thing, they're doing their things or whatever, and I'm still good friends with all of them, and we still talk about it, actually, like I had a call with Joey just a couple weeks ago, and we were just reminiscing about things, and I think we want to try to do something at some point. But I think for the stuff I wrote at the time, I'm just going to release that on my music Patreon. So I'm just going to, because it's like unfinished, I don't want to go back and slave away on it. I just want to put it out there, let people listen to it if they want, and then maybe at some point kind of clean it up a bit and then do a release on it. But there's Ura 1 and Ura 2. They're both crazy. The first album was insane, so techy and just crazy and wild, like so hard. And then the second album was pretty much finished, and it was I would say a bit easier, but really beautiful, and it had more of like a vertiginous feel where there's like this sense of scale to it. But I don't think we ever fully finished those. Well, I mean, I finished the composition on them. Yeah, it's because 12. I mean, it's because it has so many factors. That's true. Yeah, I mean, that's not the only reason. That is a big fact. That's a big reason for sure. But just being composite doesn't make it worth it. It's the fact that it's composite, and it also brings the third harmonic slightly flat, and then allows it to close after 12. That's what's special about it. So it's like a Pythagorean where you're only off by 2 notes, or 2 cents per note. Like that's like amazing. And it closes after 12. Okay, that's a miracle, and it just happens to be an equal division. Sure, that's cool. So I think that's why 12 is just great. But yes, the symmetry helps a lot. The diminished work and the augmented stuff is a big tool, big features that we take advantage of in 12 for sure. And that's why nothing can do 12 like 12 does as good, except for like maybe like 24. But even 24 makes the symmetries of 12 feel more bloated. You have to navigate bigger in them if you're moving. What do you use? I use FL Studio. Do you dabble with the decaphonic matrix charts? Yeah, I did a lot of that when I was in my music studies. I did a lot of music theory stuff like that. I actually did a proportional scale version of Weber's thing. I posted it on my Twitter. You can check that out. But yeah, no, I'm pretty familiar with like the serialism and dodecaphonic stuff in general. I don't really compose that stuff because I'm not really into formalist or like I'm not really into formalist approaches unless they have what I would consider to be a disproportionate effect on the shared external. So let me explain. So if I think about formalist works, I don't like the idea of kind of me coming up with a plan that doesn't necessarily influence the external. So like if I were to like do like a bunch of like stuff in the back end that no one else heard, it's for like a lot of details that I hear that other people don't hear, but like that has a smaller significance to me or whatever, right? And then when it comes to the what was I saying again? I forgot. I got distracted by chat. It was an important thought though. It was a good thought. Formalism and such. Okay, yeah. So my thing is like Ioannis Xenakis, his formalism moves me, but it's because like the way he was controlling the external, it's still so proportionately effective and noticeable. His formal structure impacts the external to such a profound degree that you can't avoid it. Whereas like with the decaphonic stuff or like serialism, I like it personally, but the serialist structure or the formal structure, it's kind of hard to notice unless you're like a 12-tone head, like I know some people in chat are, and you can like really track the tone rows, and even then it's kind of abstract, and even then it's not like you're building it around concordance or discordance. It's sort of, you can create rows that are more like suggestive of cleaner structures that then cycle around different, you can do whatever you want with it, but it's not really like the form it like pushes through the sound as clearly. So I like formal things that do push through the sound really clearly, and I tend to avoid things that don't, because for me it's really all about the effect, what I hear and experience and the sensation of it. 12 is Mother. 24 is kind of wonky. Let me see here. I've been a gigantic fan of Sirens forever. I have a stored signed copy of Surge. That's amazing. Thank you. As a personal girl, thank you so much for your support. Would love to see it more. Thank you for being you and sharing your art. I really appreciate that so much. And I am very grateful. And I'm glad that music touched you, and it touched me certainly as well. And I hope I can do more stuff in that vein. I really do love metal, and I love playing and performing and composing metal. It feels really good to do. And it's just really, few things are as intense and crushing and powerful. And that's kind of why I like just intonation. Because when you hit those spectrally rich JI chords, it just like has that same heaviness, but even with quiet sounds and soft things. Which microtonals and harmonic composer would you say have the most influence on me? I really wouldn't say a lot. I feel pretty disconnected from the tradition. I feel like I didn't know about Lamonte Young until kind of after I was doing stuff with J.I. Michael Harrison, big influence. Fabio Costa, I mentioned Fabio Costa already. I like, in terms of contemporaries, I really like Brendan Burns. I like Sevish, Binyamind, some other people aren't alluding, fast, Stephen Weigel. There's just a lot of really, Dolores Catharino. I mean, there's a lot of great artists in the microtonal space. But yeah, I would say I haven't really had a lot of, like, that's the thing, is I don't really feel like microtonality has influenced my compositional style very much. If you listen to my older music and you listen to what I'm making now, it's kind of like the same energy, but I'm just getting better at articulating what I'm trying to do, and I'm using pitch as a resource to help articulate what I'm trying to do, as opposed to just operating with the pitches that are on the keyboard or whatever, So for that reason, like I think Parch is cool. His freedom and his cavalier sort of viscerality is inspiring, in a more sort of poetic sense. There were, Ives, quarter tone, those are beautiful. I didn't like those in college though. Those put me off from microtonality. But now, like older with stronger ears, they're really beautiful. I love his quarter tone stuff. It's really, really magical. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't really moved into it until I heard Fabio Costa. So I guess maybe him, but even he and I's compositional styles aren't very similar. But in terms of tuning influence, I don't know. I sort of feel, that's why I'm going my own way. I sort of feel like I've got my, I don't know. I don't really agree with all the form ideas. Ben Johnston, I read all of his works, Maximum Clarity and Other Writings. Matthew's writing, The Harmonic Experience, I read that. It's good. Yeah, those are some influences, I'd say, that are just good for anyone interested in microtonality to know about. Let me scroll down and catch up the chat. Sorry. What music do you listen to? I mentioned that earlier. I'll save time and just catch up on chat. You can scroll back. Just mostly pop music right now, but all kinds of stuff. I heard you're writing a book on 31. Do you know when it will be published? I am writing a book on it. A lot of the things that I'm working on, I'm posting, and I have been starting to publish into my Discord. Do you know when it will be published? Not exactly. I'm kind of doing it through some of my videos as well. That's the thing. I have a job, so I can't focus on this. The more I can focus on my music stuff, the faster all this can get completed. So once again, if you want resources from me, not to shill too hard, but you should support me on Patreon. It would mean a lot. Okay. But no, I would like to try to get it done, or at least a working version that people can interact with, like that's kind of more public facing. I would like to do that by the end of the year. I'd like to have some thing that people can access, like publicly, because you can already access it privately, like I said, through my Discord or whatever, or parts of it that I'm publishing. But yeah, so around there, I'm going to keep posting things. I was going to do a how to read 31 notation video tonight. I still might do that. That's what I was actually getting on here to film, but I just started talking, and everyone's been so sweet, and so yeah, do you know how much vocal training can help with issues like bad acid reflux? I don't think that has a big effect personally. It could, but I think if you have acid reflux, there's typically, you might have to deal with it that way. There was a speech language pathologist friend of mine, she's really wonderful. She had suggested something about, I forget what it is. It's like some like algae or seaweed something. It's like a pill that you take, and then it like floats on top of your stomach acid, and it like makes the acid reflux more manageable. So I don't have acid reflux, so I don't know much about that particularly. Favorite would have gone bonkers on a mono machine. No doubt about it. Agreed completely. Imagine if the old serialists were getting serialists about like beats. That would have been insane, Just like the craziest like Matrix. But what about expressionist music? Love it. Absolutely. Big fan. Let's see. I would say in general, the Viennese school, I would maybe say, never mind. I wouldn't say that. I would say I'm more a different school, but the fifth Viennese school. Let's see. What's your basic workflow when picking JI intervals? I don't really pick them. Like, I don't pluck them out. I sort of understand. I think about the harmonic series as a chord, and then I learn to work inside that chord. And so there are sub-chords and sub-modes and regions and primodal like spaces inside of them that are their own relative tonal things. It's kind of like in 12 equal. If you have the diatonic 7-note scale, with those same 7 notes, you can say Lydian, right? With a certain orientation of the notes. And just intonation is like that too, but instead of Lydian, you've got like undecimal, which is like over 11, or, septimdecimal or tridecimal. And these all are completely different harmonic spaces that mean and have entirely different connections. And it's a completely irregular landscape, which to me is the most unbelievably stimulating, fascinating, and addicting thing in the whole universe, because it means there's an infinite chord that is like, has infinite chords in it, and infinite tonalities, and infinite modulations, and infinite things, and you can move in a way, even though it's difficult, which I'll do a stream sometime how I can, compose freely and just or whatever. I really just have learned more so in the last week. I've been posting my findings once again on Discord. I found some really, really cool things just using 1 to 128 overtones, setting that at about 15 hertz, And that's how I've been composing. It's an incredible palette. And then if I do need modulation, I've been using a sort of Pythagorean like backdoor, 32-27, and that lets me have, by only having to think about the 45th harmonic minimum or highest, that lets me do an entire like sort of 2-5-1, 2-5 or 3-7-6-3-2-5-1. It lets me do a whole chain down, and then I can easily pivot modulate back to the other chain off the 27th harmonic through the 17th harmonic. I also published that on my server the other day. Basically, the 17th harmonic allows you to bridge to the 27th harmonic. The 27th harmonic is incredibly important because its vertical space is really rough. It doesn't have a perfect fifth. There's some beautiful qualities in it. It's an intersection. It's a cubed like vertical space. So it's like 3 unfolded like triprimals inside of themselves that are all looking down. And so your ability to get back to the 27th harmonic without requiring the 81st harmonic basically lets you then restart like a cyclical 5th chain without like, breaking or things or whatever. And that's really fun. There's a lot of things I'm discovering right now in the harmonic series like that. The 17th is so important. Every prime is so important. And that's kind of why I sort of feel I just naturally deviate from the more traditional approaches of microtonality and just intonation, is they've often limited the primes or tried to control them or temper them or kind of work around them. And I'm kind of really more so philosophically about embracing the irregular space. And the stuff I do for 31 is more like I love 31. It's just convenient. So I do that as well because I can sort of work out of that. But wow. Okay, sorry about that. I can talk about intonation all day. I could talk about just intonation all day. That's why hopefully I can at some point just talk about intonation all day. Let's see. Gotta go. Okay, let's see. There's that. Don't get around to the question. Please do some research on pitch equal rhythm. And I already know that. What do you mean, please do some research? What? I've been doing the whole pitch versus rhythm thing for my music theory students since I was like 18 years old, So I'm very aware of that. I understand how ratios work, and I understand how pressure works and how, tones are generated and how acoustics work and how it generates. The thing that I disagree with everyone about is that I believe the vertical structure provides a concordance model much beyond what auditory overtones are present, due to the way like the linear structure works and the way that difference tones function and the way that other extrasensory properties about concordance work. I hear it constantly. I also think one of the things that I strongly disagree with, more kind of, I guess I see it a lot on some of the more Facebook-oriented spaces, this appeal to the virtual fundamental. Concordance is about a lot more than virtual fundamental. And not only that, but virtual fundamental is not a binary. It's like it's not like it just your brain flips the VF. And I've noticed that myself. Like I can easily tonicize the 17th overtone. Easily. And it doesn't matter how hard I try to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 12, 16 under it, 20. It's not going to deroot the 17, It's about a lot more than that. So, and that's why I naturally then start working in the higher vertical structure, because it's very relevant and has very audible and important effects that I've observed. So, yeah. Let's see. So, harmonic composition is very much a wine made by wine testers. Yeah, I really disagree with. Yeah, I agree with that, Chadwick. That's a big issue. I totally agree with you. And I think that's what we need to do, is we need to create musical resources, not tuning resources. It's like, whoa, here's some tuning stuff, right? It's like, here's some musical things, right? Here's some chords. Here's some sounds that you can go and interact with very easily that don't require you to do any of the extra stuff, the tuners, let's say, do, right? I think that's very important, because the average person just wants to make music and have a good time and listen and be moved by it, Do you have any insights on navigating the harmonic series with simple waveforms? For me, it's like the same exact thing. With a sine wave versus a saw wave versus a pulse, it's pretty similar. I mean, the output timbre is going to be very different. But in terms of the pitch relation and the way that is going to create effect, tends to be similar. Now, naturally, if you're using an odd partial timbre, it's really cool to space around isoharmonic structures. That's a really interesting effect. If you're doing something that's a lot smoother, then when you fuse everything a lot harder with simple JI, you'll get a more pleasant ring. If you're working with saw waves, I find that I actually don't really like the low complexity intervals as much. That's one of the things with like primodality and reaching for the higher complexity JI intervals, is they add this like they add this like rock and shimmer. It's not discordance. I mean, it's relative discordance to a hyperconcord, but it's still concordant. It's still as like, it's still cut from the same concordance map, and it's just a different degree of rhythm and texture to the concordance. So yeah, I tend to not like sine waves. I tend to avoid sine waves because I think they're very not reflective of sort of ultimately what we hear when we go to make music. But I do think they're really great for like working on like the nuts and bolts of just like pitch to pitch, what's kind of going on there. But pitch to pitch is really not the biggest part of, I think, what we end up hearing. It's sort of the instrument timbre against pitch, but more importantly, the vertical structure. The raw abstract mapping of note tuning you have just laid out doesn't really have very much to do with that, right? It's about how you align to the vertical structure and how the vertical structure you're trying to convey is struck against or unified or not. I'll probably play some music. I've been chatting. You got me on a chatty little storm. How do you record microtonal vocals? I just sing into my microphone. I don't pitch correct my vocals. At least I haven't since I started singing microtonally. I should. I think I did for that pop song, but that was like not, it wasn't really a micro. I was trying to make it sound pop, I'll probably start auto tuning, or not auto tuning, but like, manually tuning vocals to be more precise and work quicker in the future if I want to do like a JI choir piece and I don't want to sit there and like sing every single note beatless. But I don't know, I just sing into the microphone, and I don't really think of there being like 12 note music and then not. I think of there just being like music, and like pitch is like a spectrum. Pitch is like this very interesting experience that we have, and so 12 is a type of pitch experience, and yeah. Lovely. Okay, let me catch back up the chat. I'm going to skip whatever I said. If you really had a cool thing that was cool, re-say it. I'm now caught up on chat. I'm going to play a little bit of music as well. There's a little bit of latency on the Lumatone right now because I've got it going through a different audio driver. So I want to play it, but it's a little laggy. Here's a cool scale for everyone to take a listen to. I'll kind of build it up as a drone first. Okay, so this scale is really gorgeous. Basically, the only normal intervals to our ear that it has is like a major second and a perfect fifth. And then it's basically going to be like Lydian, but instead of a normal major third, it's going to be a super major third. Okay, and then, since it's like Lydian though, it's not really Lydian, it's got the extra sharp for the Lydia if you watch my videos. It's like a Lydia sound, like so. Very gorgeous, and it continues to extend. Very beautiful sound. Lots that you can do with that. I can't go that low very often. Is it a hexagon bass keyboard? Yeah, I'm playing a Lumatone right now. Playing a Lumatone in 31. Probably like next week or the week after next, I'll have a Lumatone cam, so you'll be able to watch it, which is, I think, kind of poggers. ba-dum, ba-da, 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 ba-dum, ba-da, ba-da, ba. Ba-da, ba-da, ba-dum, ba-da. Do-dum, ba-da, da, 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 ba, ba. First time here, what's a Lumatone? It's a shiny magic keyboard. Here, maybe I can use my black phone screen to show. Oh, no, hold on. Let me. See that? Yeah, you can see it better actually here than what you would if I shined a camera on it. It's a keyboard like this. It is very beautiful, I agree. That's definitely, it definitely looks great. Yeah, it's a big fact, yeah. So many times you play 2 chords and you say yes? Ooh. Mm-hmm. I'm actually obsessed with your work. Thank you, I really appreciate it. I don't know if you were here earlier, I don't want to be a plugger, but I'm posting a lot more of it on my Discord, and if you want to support my work, you should check it out on Patreon. Seriously, I'm going to be doing a lot there. I want to do this more. I have another job that I love and I'm extremely thankful for, and I plan to keep doing for a long time, but I want to do this more, and I want this to be able to compete with other things that I do. So if you want to check out my work, if you want to ask me questions, if you want to take private lessons from me, I do have lessons available, or 50-minute lessons on my Patreon available. I'm going to be doing workshops regularly, all that kind of stuff. So if you want to learn the sauce, where's the Discord? Yeah, it's a Patreon thing. And the more people who come here, it's like, eventually it's going to be free. So if you don't want, like, oh, I don't want to join a Patreon to, like, join you, that's okay, fine. But for now, I'm building up my community first, you know, for the people who want to support me. I want to give back to them. It's going to have my discography on there that isn't available anywhere else. Rare tracks for different tiers. My scores, if you want scores of my work. Scores that I haven't even released. Works that I've never even shared. Like, you know what I mean? I've made so much music. I've written so much, not just music, but philosophy about music. I've just done you don't understand how many, like, graphic illustrations I have for music education that are beautiful, that I just have never had anyone to, like, share them with in a big way. And now, like, people are, like, starting to notice my, like, music theory stuff. I want to do, you know, I want to do more music theory stuff. So, because it's, like, what I love, like, pretty much the most in the whole universe, other than, like, music itself and, like, living and stuff. What kind of tunes in your discog? I mean, I have like multiple progressive metal albums. I have like an ambient rock album. I literally have a jazz record. I have like 6-7 LPs. I have like 3 unreleased LPs. I have a lot of other stuff. Piano record. I'll have a lot more. I'll probably release an old record that I've never shared anywhere before, but that'll be for, like, you know, the rare tracks type beat. So yeah, I mean, I've written so much music, like, you don't even understand. What I have on my channel is literally 1/1000th of what I've actually created in, like, my musical journey, and I've shared like 1/10 of it. Not even that, it would be less than 1/10. That's what I'm doing. Like seriously, for anyone, like, if Brock, if you're still in chat here, like, vouch for me on this. Like, I could spam post my music into Discord into literally 50 different channels all day long. Like, I literally have to stop myself even on my Discord server. It's like I literally have one channel that's like flow. I literally have another channel that's just like my content feeds, like my rare, like, tracks, whatever. Then I literally have my 31 channel, JI channel, all my other, and I'm literally like spamming them all with music constantly. It's, you know, I have so much stuff. It's like, if you want to hear stuff, it's, I mean, it's, yeah, I've never had anything to do with it, because music hasn't been my, like, I haven't tried to lean into music as like a thing that it's going to make my life or sustain me or anything in years. I mean, since like 2016, I've kind of leaned away from music, like, as a real thing that I'm doing. Like, I'm still doing it constantly every day, nonstop, but it's like as a thing that I'm trying to, like, oh, I want to be a musician, or I want that to be my job. But now I see the interest that people have in, like, my 31 stuff, and it's like, wait, I can, like, yeah, let's do that. That's what I want to do. That's great. I want to teach you all music. I love music. Let's see. Got a god dang universe on deck. It's true. That sounds so exciting. Your music is really nice. Thank you. I appreciate that. There's a lot of things that you'd be surprised that are pretty much entirely finished tracks that are maybe some of the best things I've ever made that just aren't available. They just don't. They're not like a thing that's released. I fell asleep last night. I was looking on my phone. I wrote a track. I don't even remember. I wrote a track like I'll play it on my phone. I found this last night. I wrote a track. I don't even know how many months ago or when I even did this or what. I wrote this track. Banger. Okay. I don't even know what it is. I don't even remember doing it. I don't even know what the hell it is. Super turbo banger. I don't know. And the thing is, I don't even remember when I wrote it. I don't even remember what it is. So I don't know if I can even find I'm not going to go back and finish. I don't really go back. I like finish a thing and move on or whatever. So I have this thing that's really dope. Let me find it. This is a cool one. Oh, also, here's the next rare chords. Oh. Why not release them? Is it to give an incentive? No, No, it's because it's like an executive task. How do I release it? How do I release that music? What do I do? Do I just upload it to YouTube with a blank picture? Do I go and put the time in and edit it myself? Like, I don't even have my music on Spotify. I want my music to be on Spotify, but I like struggle to do like basic executive tasks. Like, I have a team now that I've built and that's like is building around me. I've hired and stuff, and their whole job is to basically sit there and like make sure I don't go off the rails, like trying to do basic tasks, So the idea of like trying to like organize all my music, and then that's the thing with the Discord, is a lot easier. I just drag and drop it in the thing. I don't even know what you do with it. You just download it. It's your thing. But like organize, like putting it on Bandcamp requires me to like title it, put a thing into it, list the whole thing, have this, then publish it out to people. That alone gives me anxiety. I don't even like to publish. I don't like to like blast people who are like following me or whatever. Like there's the whole lot of reasons actually, and it's like I can't do it all at once and then go boom, here's all the music. Like through the Patreon, like what I'm doing is like as I'm going throughout my days, I'm just dragging stuff in that I go across as I'm working, So yeah, no, not an incentive. They're just unfinished tracks. Like I feel weird about that. You know what I mean? So yeah, let's see. New records, let's go. Would you be able to loosely explain the ratios for tunings work in microtonal music? What exactly do you mean? Do you mean ratios as a whole? Like how do ratios connect to tuning in general? Or like all the ratios? Because there's an infinite amount and there's sort of a lot there. Let's see here. It's like I have a synesthetic friend who sees sounds colors. She says that once things get microtonal, the colors are a little like disturbs me. That's awesome. Just release yeah, if you really want to share your body at work, I kind of don't though. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Like this is like, you can get it that way. Yeah, I'm monetizing it, but it's like, I don't really want to share my body of work. That's not why I make music. You know what I mean? I make music because I love the way it feels on my ears when I'm making it and experiencing it. And, as I've grown, I've become incredibly thankful for the experience of sharing music with other people and how that affects a community and helps build and connect people. But I mean, music for me is about the pleasure of making it and the experience and the beauty and connecting spiritually to this thing that I'm focused towards, that I write about in my philosophy and such. But, so I've never really gotten into this because like I said, that I haven't tried to make like music my thing for years. So if I was like trying to like, gatekeep, okay, here's an example. You're like, why don't you release those? They're like, or why don't you release them or whatever? Or why are you just trying to monetize them? My music is free on Bandcamp. My music has been free since 2012. Every official album that I have ever released is completely free to download. It's all there. So if I was like trying to like, do that was never my goal. It's not my goal. It is my goal now. Yeah, definitely. Because I want to like, hell yeah, I want to, you know what I'm talking about? I want to like teach music and do music all day. That's like what I want to do. So yeah, I'm monetizing it now. Yeah, my Bandcamp has my first album, Dream Surah, or not actually my first album, it's my first official LP. Dream Surah. It's got Lania Kia, which is my second album. It's got the third album as well, which is Icosahedron. And then it's got a piano album that I recorded in 2016. And then a couple singles. It's got Witchcraft on there. Eurybia is on there. Pretty sure they're all free. They should be. Yeah, I'm almost positive. Yeah. There might have been one that wasn't, but yeah, pretty sure they all are. Bandcamp, Zia Rose, I don't know what it is, ziarosemusic.bandcamp.com. What's the link to the Discord? It's through my Patreon right now. It'll be free in like probably like 3 or 4 weeks. I'm just sort of building up my community first, getting everything populated. So like, for example, I can kind of have everything in place and see what needs to be done. I understand that experiential. Yeah, Bandcamp account. Have you ever explored or theorized about pitch bends? Yeah, definitely. A lot for voice theory stuff primarily, but music for sure as well. I really like that. I mean, there's a lot of that in a way, you know, there's a lot of like great talented like singers and who are like in the Carnatic tradition, Indian classical tradition, I should say more broadly, who do some of that and other chant traditions and stuff. I think it's beautiful. Would you want to score a movie? Definitely. I'm in Los Angeles now, so I'm sort of finding connections and stuff like that, which has been really cool. I may have a project that's really exciting. I can't talk about it or can confirm. The Discord is already overflowing with music knowledge drops already. Well, that's the thing. I'm doing it anyways. I just have nowhere to post it. And what am I going to do? Post it on my YouTube? It takes time to like make a video, to edit it, to export it, to upload it, to title it, to go boom, whatever, right? So it's like I can just like post my stuff as I'm doing it, you know? And it's just super convenient space for me. That was also an idea from people who, like I said, like I hired people to like kind of like keep me on track because I'm like a wild cat. I'm like a cat that just like just kind of meanders off. I'm like a stray cat, you know? So like I have people around me now. They're like, nope, you're going off. Oh, no, back here. And they were like, why don't you actually like have anywhere to do your music? Why is that a thing that's not a thing? And I was like, that's a good point. I should try to actually like make it a thing. So yeah. In correlation to tunings, ratios. Like when I look in the description of one of your is filled with numbers and commas, are they relative to a tonic? Yeah, it depends on the form. So think of it this way. Let me do this. I'll switch. I'll give you an example really fast. Let me know if you all can see this. This will be a good test because, like I said, I'm trying to do a test stream. Hold on, because I've got like so many monitors right now that I'm confused about. I think I'm on the wrong one over there. So go here. Wait. Okay, there we go. Now I'm over here. Wait, where am I? I'm trapped. Where am I? Okay, I see where I'm at. I'm so lost right now. Okay, wait. There's my cursor. Wait, where's it at? My cursor's like hidden. There it is. I found it. Okay, we're good. So let me do this really fast. I'm going to share my screen with you all, and I'll show you what's going on with the ratio thing. Okay, so there's kind of 2 notations for ratios, and actually this is another example of what I was talking about earlier about just kind of I'm kind of naturally divergent from like the JI traditions so far. It's not like I'm trying to be different or something. It's just I've just gone a different path because the way that people have traditionally indicated and notated ratio chords is that since they were stacking intervals or deriving them kind of more freely. Here, let me see. Can you all see? Hold on a second. What do you think about minimalism? It's pretty poggers. Okay, here we go. Now I just need to go music stream, PowerPoint, draw screen. I'm on PowerPoint right now, right? Yeah. Chat, don't let me forget. I'm on PowerPoint right now. Okay, don't forget that. I'm on PowerPoint. Okay, draw screen is where I'm headed. Oh, hold on, let me fix that a little bit. Oh, I can uncut this a little bit more. Oh, no, okay. It's my Photoshop. Okay, oh, all right, we're maximum. Okay, great. So let me go ahead and show this. So let's think about ratios. What's going on here when we see ratios with music? Well, simply put, there's a couple different notations for it, okay? So for example, there's this notation for it, where you have like a number, right? And to a ratio like this, where there's a bigger number that's on top, right? That's telling you this is just an interval. It's not really it's just sort of a straight interval. It's a distance because this would be counted as like the base. That counts as like where the relative relationship to it, right? However, like I tend to notate, as you asked about in my videos, I tend to write a lot of chords like this. That says the exact same thing as this, but you can see the order in which they are written is slightly different, yeah? So one of them being a proportion of 2 to 1, and then the other one being like also a proportion of 1 to 2. The difference being this is now the relative focus. So any other things that I put on top of it, it's rooted relative to that. So for example, if I were to take a chord like this, like a 4, 5, like that's a major third, right? And then if I were to do this, which would be 4, 5, 6, and then if I were to do this, 4, 5, 6, 7, that'll be something like this. Something around that, right? A more traditional way that you'd see people write this, a more common way, which is not the way I intend to be writing. I mean, I write it this way when it needs to be written this way, but it doesn't make sense for me for other ways, is where you write the ratio 1 to 1, because that's telling you you've got a root now. You've got a pitch and a bass level here. There's no difference off of 1. It's just the pitch, the root. And then, then they would say, okay, well, you've got your major, your 5 against 4 ratio. So now you can see there's that ratio coming through, but they're just indicating the root there. It's not implied in the enumerated structure like this. So then there's that, and then, this would be the next ratio, which would be a 3 against 2, because 4 and 6 reduce 2, 3 ratio there. But once again, I write it as a chord. This is a chord notation. This is an interval notation. This is indexing each interval inside of it. And then, of course, then you have the next interval, which is a 7, 4, because this is saying 7, 4 as a unit. The reason why I don't like this is because it's extremely busy. There's a lot. And also, it doesn't put them over the same bass. This is important for me. It doesn't let me think about I mean, nowadays I can grok this a lot easier and go, okay, yeah, I know what all these intervals are. I can just play that. But I like to understand the vertical structure of it very cleanly and very easily. And writing it in this way just lets me know exactly what vertical structure I'm referencing. And this does as well, but it's just cumbersome to write. And the basses are off. So it's, yeah, if I were to, like, for example, octave, switch, if I were to write something like this, now I've got the 9 on top of it. It's now over 4, etc. It's better for, better for camera. I don't really agree with that necessarily. I mean, it's not that one's better than the other. These are both important, and you're going to have to read both of these. These are important for both. It's just like when I'm thinking about vertical structure and primodality, this isn't what I'm interested in. But if I'm thinking about like tempering, or I'm thinking about stacking, or I'm thinking about geometric mother chords, this is what I'm interested in, because these intervals become the units themselves. See, here's the difference. Writing it like this treats it so the intervals are their own things being put together. Writing it like this treats it so this is an object, and that's what I'm focused on. I'm focused on these harmonic and spectral objects. Whereas like this thing, it's like you're looking at them out of context, and that's also why people stop, why they have prime limits where they don't go above like the 13th harmonic mostly, because it's kind of like, if you're stacking intervals and I'm multiplying 13/8 into 13/8 or whatever, you're going to get crazy complex to the point where you might as well not even multiply those, because it's like, what's that even going to really necessarily mean? Now, I do think it means something. I would call those geometric mother chords. This is something I also differ from the traditional approaches around, and that is when I think about repeating JI intervals, like, I don't think of that as like the, that creates a chord. So basically the issue is every JI interval ever is an infinite chord, okay? It's a chord that never closes, other than the 2 to 1, or variations of the octaves or whatever. It never closes at the octave unless it is an octave or it's tempered. So this ends up being a really weird situation, because we end up having an infinite spiral. Here, I'll show you really fast. I'll just grab Scala. I'm having trouble navigating here. I usually have it open, but my computer crashed earlier. I'll just grab one of them I've already made. I'll show you. So basically the fundamental challenge of just intonation is the fact that the vertical structure and the horizontal structure have trouble being rectified, because the harmonic series is this infinitely changing vertical structure where every single step up is a different size forever, right? That's what's the fundamental challenge of it. However, this vertical structure and this vertical alignment is very, very special. And that's what I'm trying to work in. I'm trying to work all the way up here in the harmonic series, because there's all these relationships that are really, really important, that I've found to be very important for myself musically. The thing with like the just intonation thing that we've done so far, when we see Pythagorean, that's when we just bring a chain of 3 2s together, right? We just 3 2 of a 3 2 of a 3 2 of a 3 2 of a 3 2. Now, I could write this like this as a chain of these, and it looks really simple, like that. If I keep going here, let me just remove this little harmonic stack. I could just keep these going as a chain like this. And let's see what this means as a vertical structure, okay? So if I treat these not as their own individual intervals that are just stacking, but as a vertical structure, and what that indicates, we end up with something that's basically like this. Right? You see how the complexity, I think 243, right, is the next number, yeah. Do you see how the complexity just massively scales like this? So what's been going on for such a long time is the way that we've created and approached tuning, because we value regularity, meaning you can go to all keys equally, easily, whatever. Because we value that so much, what we've done is we've compromised the vertical structure for the horizontal structure, because horizontal structure works in this geometric sequencing pattern where it's like a multiple being multiplied over and over, and that's what stacking JI intervals is. It's multiplying. Now this isn't multiplying, this is just putting them next to each other, but that's what a lot of the JI approaches are, like Pythagorean, or when we think about a 5-limit tonality. So for example, like a 5-limit tonality or array like this. So we could say, for example, if we have like a root, a 1-to-1 here, right? We could start going all around this and extending 3 2s up that direction and 5 4s that direction. So I'll do that like so. So like if we had a 2 here, and then I just kept going up in 3 and creating Pythagorean, not octave reduced, we basically end up with the Pythagorean chain headed this way. When I go and stack 5 4s for my 5-limit just intonation, then I'm instantly just basically doing like this, which is, it gets a little wild. Was that 125 or something? 145 or no? Yeah, so then it gets a little ridiculous. So the vertical structure is very difficult to rectify between these two. And so we temper them and we make them sort of work and so forth. But multiplying intervals like that, it takes the net cumulative vertical structure much higher. So for example, when I first started doing a lot of the microtonality stuff, when I would do chords like this, or I'll do one like this, when I would do chords like this, people would react and they'd be like, wow, this is like such a complex chord. Are you sure that's even possible to hear? It's like, yeah, it's possible to hear. It's not really that complex at all. It's like in the first like 30 harmonics, like that's really not that high at all compared to what, what ends up being created from the latticing perspectives, where you end up moving in all these axes by multiplication through this geometric sequencing. We're creating in this arithmetic space here, and it's a very different behavior. It's very different. Why are the numbers multiplied by 3 and not 3 2? Because that's what they are in the harmonic series. If you start multiplying by 3 2 in the harmonic series and then you reduce it all, it's ultimately going to reduce to something, whatever octave that higher one was in. So for example, if I wanted to reduce the Pythagorean thing, like this much of it, it's not just a bunch of 2 3s. The vertical structure summed together of that thing in an octave compressed way, which is what we've always said. We've always baked octave equivalents into it. We just allow that to be a thing that we just kind of allow it to happen. But the reality is, when this structure is happening, the octave equivalent pattern is moved all the way up to here, right? It's like if we were to have the 9 here, it would be like 64, 72, or 68, 72. Yeah, 68, that'd be 34, 36. Yeah, 72, 80, 1, and then 96, so etc. So we end up creating a much more net complex gestalt. So and it's not an issue. I mean, it's not like a better worse thing. It's like, what are you prioritizing? For me, I prioritize the vertical structure, and because of that, I end up with a notation that looks like a giant alarm clock in the morning. But what this tells me is a specific chord, a specific location, a specific object inside the harmonic series, which is. It just exists. It's there. It is what it is. And this is a beautiful object in particular. Taking this tridecimal perfect fifth there, this is a 3-2 of the 13, basically. And then here we also have a 3-2. Oh wait, oops, my bad. Yeah. So we have a 3-2 there, and then we also have this other 3-2. I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, and we also have this other beautiful little 3-2 here, and then we also have this little beautiful 3-1. Even more important, this creates a strong concordant shell, and this is why undecimal primodality stuff can easily deroot 1, because when you go adding 1 on here, that's not, you've already established that this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and now you have this new harmonic series that's like a different resolution inside of it, and then you get these sort of linear structures that you can start to dig out as well that create really interesting effects and such. Ooh, this is my favorite interval. I love this. This is a beautiful little, this internal interval here. Ooh, beautiful. This is that 15 over 11, and so this would be we could say that this is about the 11B minor 7 with an add 4, because this is a flat 3 of 11, so basically this would be our root, this would just be our undecimal flat third, this would be our sort of super undecimal 11 Eurybian style, and then this would be our fifth with a beautiful flat 7. This is where it gets wild, decontextualizing 1. I'm not decontextualizing 1. I'm saying this is 1. Because anything can be 1. 1 doesn't have a sound. 1 is a unit. 2 has a sound, and that's an octave. And that's not equivalent in terms of, it's equivalent in terms of like chroma, like pitch identity. It's not equivalent in terms of octave timbre. So when we're dealing with timbre and spacing out and dealing with these like structures, it doesn't really make sense to just not treat octave, or to sort of just avoid that octave inequivalence. And what that means is, what do we really think is a stronger root here? A root that's literally 11 to 1 lower, or this chord right here that's literally saying 1 against 2 against 3, right? That's the thing. It's like this idea that like the lowest harmonic ultimately just wins every time. It's just not true. I could show you tons and tons of examples. I will show you as I continue my work, tons and tons of examples where the lowest harmonic just loses, and it just gets dominated by the way that we structure the different partials and such. So yeah, there's a little bit about ratios, ratio chords, thinking about the harmonic series and stuff. Let me look at the chat. How do you like the Pulsar 23? I know it's off topic. Love it. Why are the numbers multiplied by 3? Like I said, 3 to 1 is the perfect fifth, and the octave reduced one is 2 to 3. So that's how we tend to write the Pythagorean, but third harmonic doesn't exist like that in that sequence of Pythagorean intra-octave till way up the harmonic series, thousands of partials up, you know? Like a 12-note Pythagorean chain, it gets to like the 10,000s easily, you know what I mean? And that's, then your whole, like, gestalt is like vertically that complex if it's sounding at the same time. And that's the difference. I'm more of a macro harmonic perspective. I tend to have the background harmony that's way bigger than any amount that I'll ever interact or need or whatever, and then I create out of that a reduce, even melody, counterpoint, whatever. It's the formula is not important at all. There is no formula. It's just I just listen a ton. Everything I do because I like the way it sounds. It's not like this thing fulfills this value of math and then that's how I know it's good. It's that I hear it's good and that's how I know it's good, because that's what music's about. It's about hearing, you know? It's about how we listen. And so the theory, the numbers, those numbers, like I wish that I could talk about those with just scale degrees or just like word, music terms. And that's how I think about their musical sounds. Like when I'm thinking 26 to 39, I'm not thinking numbers. No, I'm thinking sounds. The reason why I know it's a 3-2 is because I know that that's a minor 7. That's a minor 7 chord. It's got a perfect 3-2 there. So, it makes a really beautiful undecimal sound. I've used it a lot in my music. It was a sound that really attracted me and really put me towards the path, So I like I've been making some music lately. I've been posting it at my Discord and stuff, but I'll eventually do it here. I just don't have a good way to visualize JI for people, because the way I do JI, I haven't fully figured out how to do it into Rico, so the notation's not perfect yet. I do have the right things for it, I just haven't got it working yet. When I do JI, it's just all in my mind. I just know all the intervals, know the ratios, and know, because I don't think of them as intervals or ratio, or I don't think of them as ratios. I think of them as a big chord that I know, and I know what different notes between the chords sound like. Just like if I take the 7-note diatonic, and I know that if I only play these 3, it gives me that effect. I know that too, and those map to harmonic. So if I want to have this sound in the vertical structure, I can find it, because it just maps to the music. That's very doable by the 17th harmonic, by the way, what I just did. Very doable indeed. This would be like, if I were to put it in JI brain stuff, it would be like, basically if I were to octave reduce it all down, it'd be like a 4, 5, 6. And then it would basically be like a 17. I guess I said I would octave reduce it. It would be like a 34 against 48 against 80. And then then it could be a 2 minor, which could be like a 38 against, or 36, sorry. 36 against, there's a couple different variations. The minor can be very sub-minor very early on in the harmonic series, or it can also have the more pencil minor, which I think the pencil minor sound is kind of cool. So it also depends on what octave you're in, which is why I designate the octaves in prime modality as A, B, C, etc., because they have completely different material, and it doesn't really matter if you're just assuming octaves are forever everywhere the same or whatever, but when you're actually in the harmonic series, octaves matter a ton, because you don't have the same material down here. Like, if the 43rd harmonic is here, I don't have its octave down there anymore. I mean, I can make it with production, and I'm fine doing that. It's not like it's against the rules, but like, understanding like, oh, this is 43A, this is the first octave of 43 versus the second octave, or in the case of like 7, understanding like, oh, at this point, I only have access to the first octave of 7 because of where I'm voiced in the harmonic series. It totally changes the way that you have to manipulate and play with the material. I posted, once again, an example of this on my Discord about the 27th harmonic. A lot of people don't understand how to treat the 27th harmonic in JI. It's not that hard to treat. There's a lot of different treatments for it. It's an incredibly important and powerful vertical, but it's not a very strong vertical on its own, because it's designed to be like a house of cards that falls on itself. That's what 27 is a vertical segment, because it's such a cubed, it's like a poly like triprimal nested beat, and it's actually one of the most important segments in prime modality to connect it to tempered stuff as well, because it shows you the way the geometric movements tend to work relative to the vertical series stuff. It's one of the best connections between the two to kind of play with, and I've just really been figuring this out more so as I continue to work on my prime modality work. The Moogs, that's a very fun synth. I've enjoyed playing with that one at a friend's house. The reason why I'm asking is that something like 4, 5, 6, 7 has its own harmonic series based off of some, but each of those inside of it creates its own harmonic series too, and it's part of a harmonic. It's all nested. It's a relativity thing. I can make your brain hear I'm rooted in a different place regardless of what tones. I can make a 4, 5, 6, 7 sound like the most dissonant chord you've ever heard, because dissonance isn't concordance. Concordance is a different textural property. So it's just, for me, I care a lot about the vertical alignment, not because I'm chasing hyper concord, but because I want discrete concord. I want the actual concords that exist, basically. Like, I think that, tempered stuff, obviously, like, you can say, like, oh, it's got its own sound. It definitely does, 100%. Love many tempered sounds. But, like, the JI objects are, like, wave pattern interactions that are, like, stable and periodic and not irrational and actually whatever. And even though the world is infinitely granular or somewhat granular, so we can't ever create a perfect ratio or ever know that, they still give us these, it's like a map of concordance, a map of relationship and structure around what pitches what pitches tend to gel good with others. So, like, that's the thing with prime modality is I've seen for a long time people put 5/4s and then a 4/3 next to it, and that's the thing, is 4/3 is over 3, so just by adding a 4/3 over any 5/4, at minimum you're taking the complexity to 12. And then that's not even counting if you bring in, like, if you're in 13th harmonic and now you have the 13th, and then you also have 3 coming into it, and then you also have the 5 coming into it, and the 2, the vertical net complexity is way higher. Whereas if I meant like, you know, working with if I'm working with a 5/4 and I use the 43rd harmonic, ooh, that sounds scary on paper, but it's actually a lot like, it keeps the harmonic, it keeps the vertical structure, it can keep it confined to 32 to 64, and then I've got the suboctave, so literally I'm just voicing lower in the harmonic series by having higher primes. So it's like the primes, they make the thing seem more complex on an interval by interval basis, but the vertical structure becomes simpler, and you become more aligned to the vertical structure, not less. We almost had her playing music. I know. Okay, I'll play a little bit here. Okay, Justin. If you do a different voicing of 4, 5, 6, 7, as you said, wouldn't that make it into some other thing? Yeah, it could. Not always, though. Just like when I'm playing in 12 equal, if I play this thing here, if I go like this, right, I can take you so many different places with that. Just like with just intonation, just because you tuned the notes a certain way doesn't mean like the context of music and what the way we hear them completely change. You know, I mean, they do change when we go into just intonation, but like for example, it's no different than basically the question you're asking is the question that we could ask about 12 note equal temperament. If you've got a 7-note diatonic scale, can you actually play Lydian? Of course you can. It's about the orientation of the vertical structure, right? So I can, with the same 7 notes, I can say all those different qualities, not exactly the same structural vertical, just transposed around the same place. So, yeah, I mean, if you can make different modes with the same notes of same set of notes, then of course a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is different than a 4, 5, 6, 7, even though they contain the same overtones, or not the same overtones, but similar harmonics, and they suggest the same virtual fundamental, right? They can lose to the virtual fundamental, and they can, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that can totally be that can be an inversion of 4, 5, 6, totally, but it can also not. Just like, for example, you know, Locrian can be Locrian. It doesn't just have to be like, oh, we're in the, you know, not tonic or whatever. That's the beauty of sound, is that we get to use it in all these different ways. What kind of orchestrals I've written? Okay, you can check them out. I've got some on my page, you know. I've got some I haven't released and stuff too, but even on my earliest album I was writing with different orchestral qualities. Yeah, I love macro harmony, so very, very dense spectrum stuff, that a lot of partial control type things, although I wasn't necessarily into that when I was younger. What's the smallest interval a human ear can detect? It's context dependent. So for example, the melodic just intonation, the melodic just noticeable difference, the smallest interval relevant typically cited to be about 5 to 7 cents when it comes to melodic single note things. When it comes to harmonic, I'm not sure. I mean, for me, I can easily hear less than 2 cents difference harmonically, less than 1 cent harmonically. A 1 cent difference really isn't that profound. A 2 cents difference is also not that hard to hear. I probably could have you all hear them right now. Yeah, I don't know. The J and D's also, once again, I diverge from the traditions again, because the way I interpret what the J and D means is very different. This is also why primodality, the small differences in vertical structure, matter a lot, because what we're doing is creating a simplified whole, even if it has slightly more complex pieces inside of it. But the whole becomes more simple because of that. And so when we think about J and D, a 2 cent difference in primodality is quite significant, because we're not just tuning a dyad, we're tuning a chord, we're tuning a whole thing. A vertical structure is in tune, and then we're making music in this pure intonated vertical, right? So the J and D becomes way more sensitive. I mean, there's many times where, a 2 cents difference, 1 cent difference between this note and this note, the whole like primodal zonk of it just breaks it. And that's not always the case. It depends on the spacing and context. If an interval's a lot wider, typically it can be more air, less air, whatever. The complexity of the interval changes how prone you are to the error. It's just, that's why it's not about, like someone asked earlier, like, is the formula for the harmony important? No, not at all. It's not about that. It's about hearing good sounds, because no formula is going to be able to account for all the details about the spectrum, the unique asymmetries and unique non-linearities about how humans hear and experience and appreciate the experience that they have. And that's what music's more about. So, it's just about listening for the thing. J and D means just noticeable difference. Yeah, there's no formula for taste and style and vibe. That's why we have words like vibe. And that's really what music theory is for me. Yes, I can express things in a straightforward, abstract way that let you just write those notes and get that thing out, but it's the only way I know what's good in music theory is if I hear it and I like it. And you're welcome to follow me on that journey and follow the things that I think are important and think are pedagogically relevant and important for people to know about. I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm just going by what I like and what I hear. Because if I hear it very strongly, it's like, wow, then other people should be able to hear it generally, And so far, people have. Even after people claiming, that doesn't make a difference, people actually working with this stuff are finding that it does. And even people who had skepticism originally are now like, actually, maybe there are some properties about that are less valued, that should be valued more. There's other people who've been, kind of trying to push that way for a long time too, but it's been a little difficult, because like there's a sort of hegemonic kind of thing, My formula is that I've listened to music for thousands of hours, and I've composed, and I spent like 12 hours a day writing music for years, or studying music, or studying scores, or reading music theory, or celebrating art and creating it. That's my secret formula. I spent a lot of time listening to sound, but in a particular way, and that's what I can teach people how to listen the ways that I do, move the way that I have moved. I can teach you the map that I've taken and give you tools, but it's up to you to use them in a way that means something for you, And the only way you can do that is to get your hands dirty, get in the territory, get off the map. Welcome, Fionn. Do you like the new stream setup? I had one light. I need to charge one light. It even looked better earlier too, but one light went out already. But isn't it cute? It's getting better, slowly but surely. The other streams, the translation stuff will be extra poggers too. There are many times I'm trying to find here a note, certain note that is between the 12 notes on my piano. Well, the 12 notes on your piano, they don't really mean a lot. They're just the 12 notes that are on your piano. The notes that you have are a lot more important, and those do align with things that you can probably map out, but it depends on your ability for you to map those. So it would be hard for me to give you that answer. I mean, it would just get more notes, learn to hear more notes, grab a scent spectrum, or, work with a frequency. You could take a tone generator, produce a sine wave or whatever, then try to find that effect, and then see what the relationship. I don't know. I would just hear it. I would listen for the octave spectrum, so I can be like, oh, it's around 1,000 cents. Oh, it's like 1,000. There's 960. 968. It sounds like a seventh harmonic. Oh, but it's a bit sharp. It goes. Woo, it has a speed like that. Oh, that's like 974. That's not what that is. That's 979 or 969, I think. Yeah, 900. You got 900. You got 900 harmonics on that chord. You're telling me you got an instrument with 900 harmonics? Sheesh, that's a lot of harmonics. That's too many harmonics for me. You're such an inspiration. I love your music and overall philosophy. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Vibing, since you're new here. First, you need an oscilloscope. Yeah, no. Or just realize what you have perfect pitch and replicate what you hear. I don't have perfect pitch though, so I don't have that. That's not something I have. I don't have perfect pitch at all. You'll find me struggle to find what reference I'm at all the time. But when it comes to intervals and knowing relative distance and vertical structure and hearing that's a Lydian with a slightly flat 7 or a slightly flat sharp 11. Yes, I can hear those things. But those aren't perfect pitched. Those are sort of internally mapped, experientially gained patterns that I'm aware of. But Nutrisphere, thank you. I'm so glad that you all enjoyed that. Hi Vital. It's great to see everyone. It's so good to have everyone here. I've really been so grateful for the support lately around my music stuff. It means a lot. So I'm just sort of going to be streaming more on both of my platforms. I'm going to be doing more of this in general. As you can see, I've got a set behind me I'm slowly working on, or a person that I employ is working on it, and I'm getting some help in different ways of my life so that I can be more productive and more present in the universe, since I struggle to sort of exist as a thing that's not just making sound or sort of forgetting to do things. Hi there, welcome Miranon. Hi there, how are you, King? It's great to chat with you. I hope you're doing well, and I'm sending you nothing but great energy into the universe right now. Thank you, Dorian Lydia elsewhere. I've loved your comments on my YouTube channel. Thank you for your amazing words. I'm really, really grateful to have impacted and have touched you so powerfully with my music. Thank you for being here, and thanks for listening. Oh, I like that. That's cool. That's a 76 harmonic. Oh, or not 70. Sorry. 67. Sorry, flip the numbers on. Oh, in that context, at least. Jeez, what a beautiful sound. Your voice has good tone. Thank you. Could does the harmonic series justify Nirvana in lives? No, I just think fucking punk rock and grunt. I don't know, just vibing. The vibe justifies it. The vibe justifies it. Everything above anything else, right? Tuning doesn't do anything. It just makes the sounds a little different, and cool. I like them. Gives you more options. But the vibe is supreme. If the vibe is not right, it does not matter what notes you have. It's gonna be not, you know, capable of giving that moving thing. Do you still teach private lessons? Actually, I'm so glad that you asked. I haven't done private lessons for music in a long time. However, I'll go ahead and plug this. I just made a Patreon, and you can be a private lesson student of mine for music. Also, there's a workshop thing I'll be doing, a tier for that. And then also you can just ask me questions. I'm posting my thoughts, I'm just doing essays, whatever. Literally, there's tons and tons of posts. I've plugged this already. I'll plug it again since someone asked. But if you really like the work I'm doing and you want to see more of what I'm doing in the world in terms of my music and giving me more time to do this, please support me on Patreon. Even just a little bit, doesn't even matter, tiniest amount, whatever, because it enables me to put more time into this, to create more videos, to create more music education, to spend more time doing streams like this where I play music and stuff. It really, really actually makes a huge difference. So yeah, if you want to see more microtonal sort of foolery, just yeah. And then in terms of lessons, that's where I'm doing my music lessons through for now. I have very limited availability on that because I have a bazillion other students for something other than music that I teach. But yeah, I certainly am having some slots for that now. And I'm going to be doing stream sessions where I'm like going through projects and stuff on my Patreon. I'll do those on the YouTube too, but I'll start doing those on Patreon first just so I can get a feel for like what the workflow is like and like how it feels and stuff. Make sure I have all the text set up and stuff. Thoughts on autotune? I don't use it. Or at least I used to. I mean, well, no. Okay, let me say this. I don't use it because it's hard to do that in a microtonal way. So I think autotune is awesome. I think that the way it's used as a pop effect is really cool. I think that there's some pop styles we have nowadays that if they're sang without autotune, they don't have the right vibe because it's, a certain thing. Yeah, I don't know. It's just an effect. It's just a thing. I don't use it when I'm singing in JI or whatever. But I mentioned this earlier. Someone asked me about this. I probably will start doing it when I sing bigger JI. Like if I do a JI chorus piece and I'm doing like a lot, I don't want to spend like an hour waiting for like a beatless tone to come through, So I'll use it for that to make it easier for me in Justination. But I haven't, in my microtonal works, I haven't used that very much yet. Yeah. How often do you listen to hip-hop? Very often. My favorite hip-hop artist is Kendrick, 21 Savage, Drake. Don't make fun of me. I'm a huge Drake fangirl. What can I say? I just love Drake. I can't get enough of Drake, honestly. Actually, I had like a 3-month Drake phase in the winter, where literally all I listened to all day long every day was Drake. So, I know. It is what it is. But I love hip-hop so much. I mentioned K-Tronada earlier. K-Tron is so good. Let's see. We'll look into lessons in a few months. Of course, absolutely. Ba da ba da boom ba ba da da ba do da ba do da ba da ba dum bo ba bum ba boom boom. Ba da ba. Make up a random song. That's all I ever do. Literally, I've been doing that all day long today, and that's what I just now was doing. Everything I've played has just been off the dome, even as I'm talking and just moving freely. I mean, this sounds a little bit like gospel, but does it? I don't know. I'm just playing whatever comes out, just vibing. There's a little bit of latency on the Lumatone right now. It's not the Lumatone, it's the playback. So, because I'm on the stream, I haven't gotten everything perfectly set up yet, so it's hard to jam as free as I want. Do you know who Eden is? I know several Edens, so I'm not sure which one. Yes, I do though. I know lots of great Edens. Midwest emo, it's all right. Yeah, I grew up in the Midwest, and basically all the bands were playing that the whole time before it had a name. So, it kind of just sounds like the like rock music that people were playing in garages where I grew up. So, yeah, it doesn't really feel like it's like a different thing other than kind of just the pop music from where I grew up, or the pop punk from where I grew up, or whatever, or just like the the whatever, you get it. It's like the rock thing there. So yeah. I like it. It's just not what I normally listen to. I've never been a big punk fan personally. I like punk, like the energy of it, and like the artists that have been involved in it and stuff. But I don't know. The punk beat has just not been the beat that gets me grooving. So let's see. There's been some punk I like though, especially like more progressive punk stuff can be really chill, really cool. What's my favorite instrument? If we're not counting the mind, I would say probably right now, it's honestly the Lumatone's coming close. Thing is though, the piano's had thousands of years, like at least a couple hundred years to get better. The piano is really well optimized for what it is. And like microtonal layouts still have a bit of ways to go. The Lumatone is awesome, and it's like unparalleled to like other stuff I've even tried or own or whatever for microtonal stuff. But like I still don't think we're like the end of like the be all end all of like microtonal technology that'll be out there. So for now I'm just sort of the Lumatone's really nice, but I play a lot of 12-tone piano. The piano feels really good on the hands, and I want to make sure that the proficiency that I have is. What do you think about Tom York? Pretty neutral. I think he's cool. I've never been like a super fan, never been a hater, just seems like a pretty cool musician. No, I don't know the Eden Project. I don't know that. I enjoyed the stream. It's been a pleasure streaming here for you as well. Shifting the black keys a quarter tone higher while the rest, if you don't have... Oh, yeah, that's a way to do it. That's like the ice face thing. Ba-dum-bum, ba-ba-dum-bum. Wa-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba, do-dum-ba-ba-ba-bum-bum, wa-ba-dum, do-wa-dum-da-dum, wo, do-wa-do-da-ba-dum, wo. Prairie Room Redux? How's that go? What is it? It's I learned Prairie Room at one point. I forgot it. It's... I had it at one point. It's kind of a tough one. There's a lot of those like microchromatic sort of. But the interesting thing about Prairie Room, this is a really strange thing. Prairie Room has this weird, I've been fascinated by it. I did an analysis on it at one point because I was just writing. Like I said, I just vibe on the sound. But Prairie Room has the chord it starts on. That thing right there. That sounds insane. I love that sound. It's like, it sounds so good. So yeah, that's like it's like a super major with like a down fifth. So super major third with like a down fifth. Sounds so good. It almost reminds me of the other thing that 31 has, that 13, 17, 19 structure. I think it might be drawing a bit on that. It's interesting. See, here's an example of primodality. How this chord here, like fuses really hard, and this still fuses, and it's not just because the sort of the octave spectrum shimmer. It's that by putting a fifth there, you've now suggested that this is not actually 13, 17, 19. You're now suggesting that this is 26, 34, 38, 39, and that pushes the complexity up a whole other extra octave above the primodal root that it has, which is 13, so, and you can do that. The 13 comes out a lot here. You You can extend it too. I published something about that on my server the other day. I forget the exact extension off the top of my head right now, because I wasn't playing it on Lumatone when I learned it. I was sort of more like working in Dorico and stuff. But there's other deeper extensions to over 13 inside of 31 that can be used, which is pretty cool. It's like, think about it this way. You can shape the spectrum, you can shape the vertical structure, even in an equal system, in such a capacity to evoke timbral fusion that has different signatures that aren't just like over 2 or like 4, 5, 6, 7 or whatever. It's like there are some like complex arrangements of tones that don't seem like they would be very concordant on the surface, but when they're combined, it's like, whoa, why does that sound so good? Why does that sound so clear? Even though it's made up of a bunch of things that look ugly on the surface, it's because their fusion as a whole, if they align to the vertical spectrum, they simplify, the whole concord gets a lot clearer. That's so, if you ever feel like listening to some pop, yeah, I'll definitely check that out. I'm always, oh my gosh, I'm seeing so many people join. I'm really seriously, I'm so thankful. I've seen a couple people join throughout the stream on the phone. I think I got another notification. I really appreciate the support, everyone. It really means a lot. Seriously, I want to do more music stuff. I want music to be my life, but you know, I have other things that demand my time, and music is a spiritual journey for me. So the fact that people can be enriched by my own journey and I can share it in a way that's like becoming sort of like this, just, and it can just, that's crazy. I never ever thought about music sustaining me, because when I was younger, I fully thought about like, the only thing I wanted was to just make music, and I was okay if I would be like homeless or just have one instrument or sort of live off the grid or whatever. I knew that I just wanted to make music. If you ever went to high school with me, you know that. People will be like, what do you want to do when you're older? I just want to make music. I don't care about all that other stuff. But it's funny because I got older, and then it's like the other things opened up for me, and I followed those because it was in my best interest to do so. And music has never gone away. I'm just doing it as much as I am. I just do it. I've just done it for myself primarily, you know, not for other people. But I want to do it for other people, especially because people like it, which is cool. People used to not, you know, feel so strongly about my music one way or another. I think the last couple of years I've sort of I got a text message that distracted me. Can you pronounce your name for us? Yeah, my name is Ziana. That's like my artist thing. My name's Amelia. You know, that's like my what actual name, you know. So, Amelia. I go by the name Ziana online. It's kind of my menace name, where I cause havoc on the internet, argue, debate politics with people, and shit post on Twitter, and do degenerate stuff, and then make music and sort of You found me in DGG? DGGL, baby, let's go. DGL in chat. See, it rose. Yeah, it rose. I'm cool with either. DGGL chatters, are you ready for Destiny to come over for a music stream? When we do a music live stream, play some piano together. It'll happen, I promise. Just you wait. We've talked about it at one point. I think it just depends on the timing and stuff like that, but it'll be fun. Bum 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 ba da ba bum bum How do you feel about samples of your music? Go for it. Sample it. Just let me know. I want to hear it. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, let me know so I can control it. It's like, if you're going to use my music, I kind of want to hear what you do with it. So, yeah, feel free to sample it. Just, credit me or whatever. Let people, if it's like a big thing and it's like, if it's like my music is on display, like let people know, where that's coming from or whatever. But like, if you just want to like spin my shit, go for it. Whatever. You want to chop it up, do it, go for it. I'd love to hear it though. That'd be fun. You should recommend me technically. I know. That's the thing. I want to. There's some things I want to fight him on. But we'll see as time progresses. So no, the wrecking isn't over. I still have not let the music theory discussion that we had go by the wayside because I still think he's wrong. I still think he hasn't fully, And I've noticed there's a lot of DGGers that think like, oh, like she only got him to go down 20. But I think like I'm operating from like the net similarity between like human music on average is like starts at like 50%. It all uses sound. Right? So 20% that's a pretty huge number relative to where I would normally start the similarities of human music as a whole, right? Because ultimately all human music is like coming from these like ancient human folk traditions, So boy, yeah, I know. He knows that too. He's fun. Yeah, I love I don't know how to pronounce it. Nugabes? I think Nugabes maybe? Yeah. I've always been a big fan of his music. I first got into his stuff around 2007. It was some of the first like beat, glitch type stuff I got into. How often do you stream? Almost never. This is the first time I've ever done a stream that's like this good, like in terms of like professional quality and stuff. I'm gonna stream a lot more now though. That's part of what I'm trying to do with my music Patreon. So once again, if you're here and just joining and you'd like to support what I'm doing in a music fashion, come check me out on Patreon. I'm posting my musical thoughts every day on there. New thoughts, entirely new, theories and sounds and things that you've never heard before. So it's all on there. And just I'll be streaming more in general on YouTube and just sort of doing more music stuff in general because of my patrons. So yeah. Same with my other space, but I'm creating teams for my other things so that I can focus on other stuff too. Do you ever try an F? Yeah, of course. I made an entire video on that chord, Dr. Banane. I played that chord already a lot. I mean, there it is again. Yes, of course I know that. That's the harmonic series chord. Yeah, and 31. I have a whole 16-minute video on that chord and voicings about it, and not just that, but how it's connection to JI and so on and so forth, and how it sounds with different timbres. So indeed, I do know all about that chord. And no, it's not made of overtones. It's made of tempered approximations of overtones, but they are very tempered and they're not very accurate. I mean, listen to that fifth. It goes boom, it whirs. Perfect fifths don't sound like that. Listen to that. It has a pull, and it's a cool pull by itself. I actually almost like it as an open fifth, like it opens. The problem is though, when you go and you play mean tone or you go and you play Pythagorean and you stack up the fifths and stuff, they get extra warbly because it adds up with each one. See how it's not necessarily wobbly, it's clean, but it's like, it's blurry. To me, that's the effect of temperament. It's the blurriness of the sound. And so, you can get a lot of cool harmonic structures out of it, but but I definitely would never say like 31 is J.I. It just can do some things that sound more J.I. like, you know, like the rose chord, for example, that we've talked about on the channel. It's very J.I. like. That's why it's going, hello, can you hear me? I'm special. You know, that's how I know, like, when I'm looking for these structures, like, most of the time where I find these interesting concords, I find a certain vertical structure. I'm like, whoa. And then, like, I'm like, what's up with that? And then I go look, I'm like, oh, because it's like a vertical alignment that's not obvious from the perspective of over 2. It's a vertical alignment from the perspective of 11, or a vertical alignment, whatever. And it's just amazing. Your phrasing is great, which I think shouldn't be absolutely understated in the formula. I actually said literally that earlier. I said that it's not about the formula. The formula gives you nothing. It's all about the sound and the vibe, and that's all about experience and time and dedication and practice. Didn't I say that, chat? I said those exact words earlier. So I totally agree with you, major 7, flat 5. The chord formulas are nothing. That's a big nothing burger. Those are just, you know, pitches. Pitch does nothing. It's about what are you going to do with it? How are you going to make it move? What are you going to say with it? And, you know, I've spent a long time learning how to voice, learning how to phrase. But it wasn't an intentional effort, it was just expressing music. Phrasing is just it's just how you'd say it, you know? So I don't have to think about how I'd say it, just like how I don't have to think about talking right now while I'm playing. I'm just talking and playing. It's compositional muscle is the same thing, and that's the thing, is composition's not tuning. So if you want to be a great composer, don't think microtonality is going to help you do that. I mean, it can, don't get me wrong. Understanding how intonation works and timbre and microtonality and harmony works absolutely can make you a better composer, but fundamentally being a great musician and composer is not about knowing knowledge. It's about making and sharing and creating the thing and doing the thing and liking what, you know, it's about the translation process, the internal external barrier thing. I'm taking this in from outside, I'm synthesizing it, I'm changing it that way, I'm reciprocating, I'm listening, I'm communicating with the medium, with the listener, with myself. That's the magic of music. It has nothing to do with the intonation itself. Intonations are just a fun, I mean, intonation is very important, don't get me wrong. It's like the fundamental reason why intonation is why if I do this, it's not very clear. Right? Intonation tells us everything about how spacing concordance is going to function. But that doesn't tell us how to use concordance or how to use discordance. Right? Oh, that's interesting. Ooh. I wish this was less latent. The Lumatone's latent right now. I can't fix the latency because I don't have a full setup right now. This isn't latent though. So the 12 equal piano, not latent. This is right now the Lumatone. It won't be eventually though. It's just because the way I've got my stream set up going right now. So it's, I can't really like watch if I go like what if I do this for the same rhythm and touch a key with it right now because of latency. Do you hear me pressing the key before it fires? Hear that in the background? Stop. It's like late. So it's hard to jam right now on the Lumatone. That's why I'm kind of like playing like slow chords and little rolls and stuff like that. I want to jam. Let me see if I can get the latency low enough. Hold on a second. I might be able to. Eventually I'll have a loop out and bring it around so that it works better. I feel like this should work. Let's see. I feel like this should work. Oh, wait. No, it won't work. That's specifically how it doesn't work. My bad. I lied. Wait. Maybe this will work. Let's see. Here we go. Test. Still very latent. Why is that so latent though? It's a lot. I didn't seem to change it very much. Maybe let me try this one. If I crash, you know where I went. Let's see. Oh, it crashed. Oh, wait. Ooh, that looks bad. Wait. Are we good? it's a little, no, it's still late. It's a little faster. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to figure that out for another stream or whatever like that, but I can't really like get lost in the Lumatone right now. And the 31 because it's sort of so slow to respond right now. Ooh. Yeah, I like that 13, dominant 30. Ooh, that sounds nice. I also really, really like this, this dominant, this sort of dominant. With the 35th harmonic on top. Or the approximation for it. For the people who struggle to come up with compositional ideas, one of the best ways is to increase the listening input. Or just learn to... Yeah, I agree with that. For one, yeah. But also, like, write more. Don't, like... just manipulate material more. It's not even necessarily about you gotta write something you like, or even it's just, you just write more. Just write a lot. You know, I've written thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of things, and it's like no one's gonna even see a fractional portion of all that. So that's the unseen experience that composers have that a lot of people don't like. That's kind of what like separates like, you know, like songwriter from like composer. Songwriter's absolutely an incredible skill. You know, they work around the melodies, bring lyrics come through, take some chords, turn it into a thing, get it produced, turns into a big hit, right? Composers spend all their life working with the materials of music and understanding how to manipulate those materials in different ways to create effects and to create what they want and express what they want. And it's a very different thing. It's more sort of, you know, sunk in ownership of the sound. And I think that, yeah, so if you want to be a great composer, just write a ton of music and, you know, learn to take 5 notes and spin them 50,000 different ways. Like one of the things that I feel particularly good at, and I see this when I like work with other people, not in music, but just like other fields of my life, when I like talk to like, you know, other professional, other backgrounds, whatever. One thing that I have a really great ability to do, which I think comes from my background in music and video games, is permutate. I can take like one idea that I have and turn that into numerous ideas, and I don't have any shortage of ideas. I haven't had creative block. I have not experienced musical creative block in probably 7 years or 8 years or so. I don't even like the idea of like not having a musical thought that I need to say is like, that doesn't even really make sense because it's quite the opposite. I live in like perpetual anxiety because I feel like I don't have enough time on this planet to like express all the things that I need to. And that's why it's like, hey, if you love what I do, please support me on Patreon. I know I've plugged that 3 times, but I'll say it again. I want to do this. I want to spend my life expressing the ideas. What do I do for work? I teach voice alteration. I have a different YouTube channel on a different platform, Patreon. I love that. It is incredibly fulfilling, like spiritually fulfilling work. But of course, you know, like music is my background. It's like what I want to do. So the music super duper is exciting, especially now that people are supporting me around it. Let's see. Permutation. Yeah, permutation, flipping it. You know, riffing on it. Just, how many ways can you take that thing? How many ways can you take this and spin that into a melody, a harmony, a whole piece of just harmonies, of just that in different ways and movements? How many ways can you orchestrate that? Like, it's how many ways can you spin it and flip it? And that's what composition is all about, is like taking something that you like the vibe of or the sound, of flipping it and turning it into like a whole thing that feels like connected and whatever. I mean, it can be anything, whatever you want to compose, but you know, you get what I'm saying. It's about being able to change and build and manipulate. Did you get a chance to play around with the new Keyscape patch yet? Feels like they optimized the program a lot. I actually haven't. I didn't know there was one. I will actually check that out because, you know, I've been playing a lot with piano tech and that's really been very satisfying, but I was really captured by Keyscape for a long time. So I would love to check, especially if you feel like they've optimized it. So I'll check this out. I love Keyscape. It's beautiful. I don't like that when you do more than like 31 notes or something, it like the A2 key like breaks or something. That's the only like frustrating thing. It's not for all layouts. It's just for some. What's the Patreon? Yeah, thanks for asking. I would love to plug it again. Some people have subscribed so far. I haven't checked. I don't even know what's going on there, but thank you all if you have. Yeah, so here you go, Tadio. Basically, It's a place where I've been posting my theories, like literally as I'm working on theories. You can read more about primodality there than anywhere else right now. Not because I'm trying to hide it, because it's not finished. So, but if you want to support me, like, I don't care. You pay me $3, $5. Yeah, you can, or $6. You come and check out what I'm working on. You know, I don't care. I'm working on it anyways. So there's that stuff. I also have, I'm going to upload my discography there. I'm going to have rare tracks there. I'll be doing streams, workshops. You're welcome to ask questions, blah, 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 etc. Patreon poggers. Yes, there's people there in the chat in the Patreon. It is poggers. I don't think that you can, I would argue this. I don't think eventually once it's going, I would say maybe even now, maybe there's some places that are more active. So I think once it's cooking, and it's kind of cooking, it's starting to cook, I don't think you'll be able to go really anywhere in the world and get like more like high level stuff, you know, at least musical sort of discussion about things. So I don't know. That's kind of how I'm thinking. If you want to like the most like crazy, like cutting edge shit, like, you know, that's going to be where I'm at. So feel free to be in my space. Always. Let's see here. Rip Sondheim, probably my favorite. Yeah, agree. Inspiring live stream. I'm so glad it was inspiring, and I'm so glad that this journey of music is inspiring for you. Physical modeling is so cool. Agreed. Literally the only place I go besides your DMs for high level music discussion. Yeah. And I mean, that's not a slight against the microtonal community, because there's a lot of amazing microtonal spaces for sure. The Zen harmonic space is awesome. I post there a lot frequently too. But it's like, it's a difference, like music versus like the tuning theory stuff. Like the tuning theory is pretty different than like applying in musical frames and such. And, you know, so I'm more interested in the application of these things, and not so much the tuning side of it, although obviously I'm very engaged and involved in that stuff too. So what can often happen is when you enter a microtonal community and then you have questions about it, it's like, because a lot of the individuals maybe have less musical background, they have more tuning background, you can often get these answers that are very like divorced from like music. Like anyway, like it's like a kind of perspective that like there's no way someone who's like jamming, like, you know what I mean, like playing music regularly, like thinks that. But you'll get a lot of that, and it's not a slight at anyone. Everyone has a different approach and stuff, right? But it's like, it makes it hard for people to get into microtonality early, because it's like, look, I'm just a guitarist. I just like to jam. Like, I don't really care about like all the numbers. Like, what are some like cool like things I can get? Like, for example, like I can teach, you know, for something that we can teach a guitarist. Hey, guitar player, you know, when you're jamming over like a major chord, well, you can just take your perfect fourth and bend it halfway. Now you have an 11th harmonic that you can hit through a bend. You know, those are the things that like, microtonality is not scary or hard or like crazy. It's super usable, super applicable. And like, if the moment someone asks about it, it's like tuning theories, the thing that we're talking about, not music, it can make it really difficult for people to just capture it and everything like that, you know? But if you hear it, it's all very intuitive. It's all very, you know, if you're actually interacting with it. Welcome, Levi. What gets me is the discussion boards that are like tuning theory, no yeah, tuning theory only, no music, by the way, just discussions of tuning. Harmony only, but no sounds, by the way, just only harmony. I obviously that's a straw man, but you know, I totally agree with you. Yeah. Let's see. What emotions do you, this is a great question. What emotions do you feel microtones unlock that don't exist in 12-EDO? Like every one of them, okay? 12-EDO totally is beautiful, tons of great emotions, but the reality is the emotions that I feel from 12-EDO are like, they're like enculturated emotions. And that's why I can control your ear when I play in 12, and I can make you, I can make your heart sing. I can make you feel like it's Christmas. I can make you feel, you know what I mean? That's what we can do, because these have culturally relevant connotations now. So what the emotions I feel in 12 are like, so like they're so abstracted through culture that they're not visceral to me very much. I mean, they are, like when I'm composing, and of course I hear music that makes me want to cry, like when I hear people singing Danny Boy, but even that's in Johnston, because if you're singing choir a cappella, Danny Boy, you're in JI, you know? So like whatever, like 12 video can be touching and it can make me feel all sorts of things or whatever, but it's a bit more meta. You know what I mean? It's a bit more like you know what you're supposed to kind of feel, you know? And that's what bothers me about it. It's like, I kind of get it. Now, of course, then you get hit by a transcendental work in 12 and it's like, you forget all, you know what I mean? Then you're like living and having that, wow, that experience. It's so magical with music, you know? But it's very meta. It's very contextual, you know, Disney, like it's like our culture has built certain traditional practice around certain intervals, having context and meaning, whatever, all that. Whereas in microtonality, I feel like it lets me speak the inexpressible a lot more accurately, because it's like there are sounds that I have no association to. And the lack of association is like a completely vague, blank Rorschach that shows me more about like the inner world. It shows me more about it. I don't know, not less. So, I mean, it's not, I can't even just discreetly put it into emotions. They're just beautiful different colors, you know, beautiful different qualities. Sounds like you're trying to say 12 videos fully explored. That's not what I said at all. That's not what I said at all. I still do new things in 12, okay? Lots of people do. No, 12 is there's lots of stuff. That's the thing. It's not really what notes you have. It's like how you use them. So what I am saying though, is that like the general harmonic constructions in 12, because when we grow up, everything we hear is in 12, every emotional, heart-touching moment in the back of a movie, every thing like that, every like club tune, it's all in 12. And so we've built these associations about like what those sounds are like, you know, or like what we feel. That's like people are like minor sad, major. I've never experienced music that way ever personally. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. It's contextual, but also like the reason why you go and ask like a random person on the street, well, what do you think about major and minor? They'll be like, oh, happy and sad. They don't actually think and feel happy and sad. It's that they've felt something internally that they don't really describe or have language for. And then culturally, we've said like happy and sad. And that maps pretty closely because we do, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong. That's a it can get sad. I mean, it can be sad. It can also be happy and triumphant. And major can be crushing and brutal and bitter, you know? And so I don't really think of it like that. But what I meant is like the context of 12 is like suggested by it. So like in different microtonal things, like there are sounds that I play that I have literally no association to whatsoever. Never heard that sound in my life, you know, constantly. Every day I hear sounds that I've never heard in my entire life before. And that's exciting for me. And that's like, so that puts this thing where it's like, I don't have words. I can't tell you what the emotions they make me feel. I would say that microtonal sounds like when they're done, like when I'm getting into it or they're done properly by artists, it almost feels hyper real or hyper visceral. It feels more, it's less like society. It's less in the context of society. You know what I mean? It feels more like natural music, or not natural in an appeal to nature, but like the material of nature, just sound, just more freedom of sound as opposed to more restrictedness of sound. And that sort of lack of pitch diversity itself is a sound, and it's a sound that we associate with like organized culture and like playing the wrong notes, you know. It goes really deep. And yeah, so that's a great question though. Excellent. What were some of your influences? I actually answered this before. I'll answer it again. You haven't heard anything in my style. I would agree with you, not because I'm tooting my own horn, but I just agree with you. The reason why I write the music the way I do is because it's the music I like the sound of the most or whatever. So I'm making stuff I like. And if I could find other artists that wrote like I do or whatever, then I would listen to those artists and I'd recommend them to you. There are some people who've been very influential to me in my journey, who've kind of shaped or influenced my compositional voice. Not really any of them are microtonal though. So in terms of people who've influenced my compositional frame, not a lot microtonally. A lot have influenced me tuning wise in microtonal. But in terms of my compositional frame, I've been pretty influenced by Telephone Tel Aviv, which I was stunned to see the other day. Telephone Tel Aviv liked my stuff on Twitter, like this is so cool or whatever. Like I can't believe all the people that I thought were super dope when I was younger are like kind of like fuck with my stuff now, which is really just the most bizarre thing. I came from the middle of nowhere in Indiana, like tiny town, tiny school, what up, you know what I mean? Like The fact that now there's like the people that I grew up like thinking like, oh, those people are like, I went to sleep listening to Fahrenheit Fair Enough by Telephone Tel Aviv every night for months as a kid. That was like that got me into glitch. My whole thing was glitch and IDM and like this glitch, all this stuff, you know? And like I owe like a lot to that. Massive Attack was a big influence. Inner Party System was a big influence on me at a certain time, not so much anymore. BT, This Binary Universe, was influential, although I have to give credit to Brian Trifon from Triphonic in some capacity. I'd say he's influenced me a bit in one way or another. Square Pusher, a lot of electronic glitch, a lot of death metal, a lot of ambient Hammock, Sigur Rós. These are all some of my favorite artists of all time. Hammock, Sigur Rós, Godspeed You Black Emperor, Explosions in the Sky. I went on Explosions in the Sky phase last month when I was arguing with people on Twitter, like complaining about whatever politics stuff. I was like on a total Explosion in the Sky. That just takes me back to like 2006 in a gymnasium. Fucking, you know, just the shit. That was such a music in 2006, like the live scenes around the like music scene. Oh, those were so crazy, you know. Yeah. Well, that was because when I got canceled. That's why I was listening to Sigur Rós. So I was like in my field, you know, like arguing with people on Twitter. How dare you misrepresent me? You know, just do it. It's fun. Yeah. Subtle 12 video. Yeah, that's something that's cool to do. Embellishing 12 like that. Have you heard the new Victor of the Sun? Haven't heard the new stuff, but I like her stuff, and I'll definitely be looking forward to checking that out at some point. Yes, I like Ben Johnston. He's great. I would say I got into his stuff. I didn't really know about his stuff until like a year, until a bit into my JI journeys. So I can't say he influenced me like too much overall, but Michael Harrison definitely influenced me, and he was kind of in the same Lumatone and Ben Johnston, you know, bubble of JI. I think Ben Johnston's brilliant. I think his notation system's super inefficient and doesn't really work. That's why he got confused writing in it himself. Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think that his things are like Taj Mahals of proportional pitch. So beautiful work. Let's see. Some of the aesthetics aren't my vibe, but like when there's like an aesthetic in his piece, it's my vibe. It's like, oh, it's like a beautiful gem. You know what I mean? Johnston himself said he didn't like his writing system. Yeah, I mean, it's a mess. Yeah. I mean, of course he didn't like it. He had mistakes in his scores, you know. He forgot those commas several times, so it is what it is. I know Mark Sabat did some renderings of Ben Johnston pieces in Tonescape, which is Mark Sabat's, I think that's what it's called, Tonal Soft. Mark Sabat's thing, and Mark Sabat said when he was going through it and like transcribing it or putting it into Tonal Soft, it was very obvious where like Ben Johnston would miss a comma because of his notation system, specifically having the inner spine is not just a 3-limit Pyth spine, but it's like a 3-limit, 5-limit. You know, he has the what's that scale called, the Zarlino. You know, he's got like the Zarlino type beat, or not Zarlino, even sooner than Zarlino. Sorry, what's that guy? 10 name, Ptolemy. He's got like the Ptolemaic major, right? And that's like his inner spine, and because of that, like he missed his accidentals all the time. Which makes sense. You know, if you're going to notate and try to do like EJI through notation, doing it through a Pyth spine feels like the only way to even do it. Tonal Soft is Joe Monzo. Yeah, that's who I meant. Sorry, not Mark Sabat. Although Mark Sabat and Thomas and so forth, I think his partner in that created the Hedgie, which is a great accomplishment. I didn't really understand Hedgie until recently. I'm definitely getting a more newfound respect for that. I don't really think it's that functional for what I do in just intonation, but there was someone on the Zen server that actually expanded the Hedgie accidentals to include the primodal segments, and so that's a bit easier for me to use those, but super grateful for, you know, the people who worked on Hedgie and everything like that. It's a big accomplishment for JI as a whole. Joe Monzo, yeah, so he did that, and you know, I read a post the other day that he made was really insightful about just, you know, the whole notation system and sort of where the issues were, you know, where he'd see them and stuff. So it was really cool. What do you think of ADO? I don't call them that. Those are just the octave segments, the primodal octave segments, or they can be reduced primodally. ADO is like 90% of like what I do, but it's not ADO, it's not octaves. It's just the harmonic series, and then the harmonic series, each harmonic has its own octaves throughout the series, and each segment of those segments of the vertical structures unfold and repopulate with primordial material from the initial point, along with whatever factor came into it, along with the unique material at that intersection point. So the vertical structures are all unique. So ADO, I don't really think of it that way, but that is like the majority of what I work around. So primodality is basically, if we want to put it in other words, primodality is basically a theory of ADOs that allows us to organize, index, and operate freely around ADOs in a way that lets them connect and intersect and, make sense with each other, instead of just being like, you just arithmetically divide something that way. Let's see here. I don't know how to construct near just intonation. Oh, it's really simple. Yeah, I'll be doing a stream on some of that stuff too. I discovered your works just recently. Would you say that microtonal can be considered an extension of modal theory? No, it's an expansion of anything. It's an expansion of sound. Modal theory is a type of use of sound, just like tonal stuff. I don't really think of tonality and modality as too different necessarily, but they can be in certain contexts. But no, it just expands the sound, and so that naturally lets you have different modes, but also different tonal behaviors and different structures and stuff. So I don't really think of it as necessarily like an extension of modal theory. It can be an extension of any theory, because it's just an extension of the sound, the material of sound itself, not the usage of the sound itself. Yeah, I think the video's on YouTube, Space and Pitch, if you want to check that out sometime. I think it might be over on Monzo's channel, but basically it's just got like the lattice views of the Johnston sections, basically what it looked like from what I understand and from what I've seen in the analyses. Johnston would typically modulate into a section and just kind of stay in that section for a little bit, and it would require a certain set amount of accidentals. Maybe it was like a 14-tone space or a 7-tone space or 5-tone space, whatever. He'd stay there. Then he would kind of modulate it all at once. And so like if you go and you look at the lattice structures of those pieces, it's like you have like a localized lattice, and then it'll shift over, and then that localized lattice will just be a totally different, slightly different lattice, or modulate elsewhere. It's a slightly different shape, and then he just riffs on that until he changes key again. That seems to be like what a lot of his stuff was, which makes sense because that's partially kind of what I'm doing as well, but instead of EJI geometric minor chord stuff, I'm trying to do that introvertically, but he seemed like he was very aware of the vertical structure as well, so he's great artist, composer. Definitely the recording of his string quartets is one of the best feats of like human like intonation expression that we've like recorded. So if you're an intonation fan, you gotta love the Johnston string quartets. Who recorded those again? Kepler quartet, was it? What did they spend like 20 years on it or something? 27 years tuning it? Are you gonna plan on making more 31 videos? Yes, absolutely. I'm always working on that stuff. Like I said earlier, I made a Patreon, so I'm posting more thoughts there. I should have a music theory video tomorrow. I'm gonna do longer form videos. I was actually gonna do this stream and teach reading 31 notation so people can read it better, but then people just start asking me questions, and we've just been hanging out. So Kepler quartet, yeah, what a gem. See, I know I'm cultivating the right audience when I talk about like Ben Johnston string quartets, and like 5 people in the audience like, yeah, it's the Kepler quartet, yeah, you got it, it's right, it's the Kepler quartet. I know I'm with my people, you know what I'm saying? It's like, who else even knows like what the hell that is? What song of yours would you want to be most popular? I don't know if I want any of them to necessarily be popular. I don't think that's not really something I want particularly. I mean, I'm very grateful and super honored if people are gonna love my music, or if I had a piece that went like pop music, that'd be crazy. That'd be life changing. Of course, I'd be grateful for that. But that's not really like what I think about when I think about my works that I've created or how I process them as myself. If I had to think, like, it would be more like, what work do I think best reflects like who I am, or what work do I think best reflects like where I am now or where I was. It's more of like those works are like a landmark in my life, but like the real thing is like the journey and like the evolution of it all. So no piece is what I want to be remembered by necessarily, because it's each of those is just a little point along the way. But I'm really still proud of Sola. I think Sola was really accessible and it came together quick, and I think it has a sense of natural spark about it. There's a sense of humanness throughout Sola. I think is really good. I think Witchcraft is I think it's poggers. I think that there's really nothing. I personally don't think anything has ever been created like Witchcraft before. So if that sounds egotistical, sue me. I don't know. I just don't think there is. So I'm pretty proud of that one. Pandelia is freaking weird too. That's a strange one. Eurybia I'm really proud of. I would like to do that for real orchestra someday in the future. That's why if you subscribe to my Patreon and you over time as a community allow me to do music as a living, and 5 years from now I could literally have dope pieces performed by giant orchestras and shit. You know what I mean? If you want to hear my ideas become more concrete and ways that are that's the thing, is my approach in Gestation doesn't have to be something that takes a Kepler quartet 27 years to do. I can write a JI piece that has incredible effects that a big orchestra could learn. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be, and that's part of the vertical structure thing. I can get all the effects I need out of a closed, limited vertical structure and understanding how to be inside that space. And that makes it so much easier for the musicians who want to learn the music, in my opinion. Because you don't have infinite drift. You know what I mean? I don't need to have I don't need a circular chain of 12 fifths in JI to be happy. You know what I mean? The vertical structure is happy. If I need fifths, I can find them. If I need sequence, I can find them. If I need movement like that, I can find it. I don't need it to be baked into the fabric. And I find when you bake into the fabric, the vertical structure gets disintegrated. Your mind is so different. I'm starting to realize that the older that I get, it's really, it's been really challenging for me, because my mind works around certain things, and then it's really, really, I'm very challenged around other things. So it wasn't immediately clear to me throughout my life how sort of disconnected I am from a lot of other people's experiences. But the more I recognize that and accept that, and the more I plan around that and build teams around me to accommodate those needs that I have that are different, it's really helped me a lot, and sort of being more functional and productive. I've tried to create a set that looks like this, or even just something a better streaming set. I've tried to do this for years, literally years. I've had the willpower. I've bought so much stuff. I've tried so many different things, and it's there's something about tasks like that, or certain things that it's just I just get locked out of in a way. And I've spent a lot of time working on it. I'm gonna go into therapy. I do have ADHD, so that I got diagnosed with that when I was 12. It's just a big complex around certain things. So music is what I excel at: helping people, teaching, hearing things, building things, creating things, looking at problems, finding structures, sorting things, categorizing, seeing relationships between things. That's what I'm good at. But then the other stuff's really, really difficult for me, and it's created a very challenging hole to dig out of, in terms of just catching up with all the things I've been behind on for years, because I've been sort of not really functional. Zeta function is some special math stuff that basically checks prime versus real deviation approximations, and just lets you basically have a sequence of numbers, which is actually very useful in mathematics more broadly. I don't really understand it. I'm not even trying to pretend to be a math person, even though I use numbers in music or whatever. But basically, it's a really important math function, and it just so happens when applied into tuning, with a little bit of finagling, it predicts really high efficiency, core useful tunings. So 31 is a peak zeta EDO, meaning it's a really high product. It's a high result from the zeta series, and it just so happens to also be a great tuning. So, but it's nothing super important that you have to. I don't really fully understand the math of it, but I understand what it represents and what it is, and I've watched and read and learned more about its function outside of music. But yeah, it's basically just it does some prime approximation around logarithmic division, I don't know, some reals versus whatever, and then it allows you to figure out what's gonna have what has the best approximate. I don't know, I'm not a math person, but I understand how it works on an intuitive level. It just basically lets us check what EDOs are gonna have good support for a lot of different harmonics and a lot of lower stuff. the lower complexity stuff in general. Ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba. How would you describe the 11-10? I have an entirely unique interval category in my brain for that. I don't really say it out loud because I don't want to confuse people, because before I understood what all the temperament theorists were doing, because I didn't know the math stuff very well, I totally didn't understand what they were doing with temperament, because it totally does not make any sense to me. Like, it makes sense now. Like, I understand I understand how to temper and stuff like that. But like, it, like, as a process of making, like, that is not the approach that I feel connected to in any way. And so it wasn't very intuitive for me, and that, because I didn't understand what like temperaments were. So like, I played for a long time in like porcupine. I also played for a long time in tetricot, but they were certain tunings of them, and it just so happened to be tunings that had those pretty decent sounds. So I have an entire interval category in my head at like 150, a whole other space at like 162 to 165, whole other space at 176, like a tetricot second to me is like the 176 area. That also shows up vertically above 7 in the harmonic series on its 4th octave, which is like, so that the 28 to 31 interval, that's a 31 limit interval. Sounds scary, but it's like the best 170 roughly major second we have in the harmonic series, like one of the lowest ones, you know? And that's why the higher primes are important, because it's like that to me is like a whole interval category, that tetricot second, that like upper neutral second, getting close to the darker like terracotta deep mean tone pulled down seconds. And then like below that is the 165 area that you're talking about there at the 1110 or the 162 zones. That has a very different quality to it, and it's a distinct quality for my ears. And then down below, when you get to the 150 area, that also has a very different quality. So, thank you, Poi, for what a treat. Your content has inspired me more in a way that something hasn't in a long time. I really, really, really appreciate that. Join me on the Discord. That's all I'll say. Thank you. I'm so glad I can impact you. Thanks for being here. Ooh. You just joined? Thank you, Tadeo. Thank you so much. I seriously appreciate it so much. Drop the Discord link. Yeah, it's a Patreon thing, so it's going to be free eventually. So if you want to be in there and you're like, oh, I don't want to, that's fine. But this is, for now, I'm just letting anyone who wants to support me have access. There's, like I said, I post my unfiltered thoughts about music on there, all my various essays that I have in different spaces. I post new sounds, new blah, 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 everything. You know what I mean? I'm always just doing stuff. So it's like, now I have a place to do it, and you get to follow along with me while I do it, and I get to make this my job as well. So perfect. So yeah, if you want to support me, it's there. Eventually that Discord server will be free for everyone, but like it'll have kind of more limited access for free users, just so I can yeah, so there's that. It's inspiring to hear you talk about working through ADHD things, executive. I can't even describe to you. It's been the worst experience ever, the worst journey ever. That's the thing, is I got diagnosed with ADHD really young. They tried to medicate me. I never took the medication. My mom tried to get me to take it. I would like spit it out. I refused to take it. She finally gave up. And then I just went my whole life without ever, getting help for that or assistance with that. Vaplop, it was so great having you here. Be well, okay? It was fantastic having you here. I hope to see you at a future stream. My next stream, I'll be specifically teaching something. So probably teaching 31 notation. I was going to do that tonight, but I've kind of just chatted for a bit. So, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-ba. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-da, ba-da-dum, ba-da, da-da-ba-da, ba-da-dum. Wa-da-dum-da-bum, wa-da-ba-da, ba-da-ba-dum, wa. Yes, this is still 31. Still wondering what a Mothrian chord is. Yeah, okay, I'll tell you right now. So Mothra is just a name that someone gave to basically the specific tunings around a certain temper relationship. That's what I hate. God, temperament, I swear, it's very useful. It's very important. It's a very great thing. But it is literally one of the most obfuscating things, period, that I've ever seen in music, period. The amount of obfuscation that it creates is just unbelievable. Now, of course, it's very important. It explains a lot of important stuff, but basically, with a certain generator size, i.e. an interval, if you repeat it a certain amount of times, it comes close to another thing. And then when you kind of average them out, we say, voila, a whole new thing. It's not really, it's like, it's just, yeah. So Mothra is basically when you take a super major second. So if this is a regular major second, and then it gets a little sharper, that's a super major second. We hear it a lot in music, like, or sorry, not that, sorry, like music. We hear it a lot in, let's say, like, it's that lower step up we hear a lot in blues, like, it's not exactly that in blues if you're playing on a tempered instrument, especially piano, but you hear that bent. So that's the seventh harmonic. So basically, super major second. Mothra is when you take that and you stack it, because after three of them, the fourth one hits a perfect fifth. So it's a temperament that divides the fifth differently than our normal system. Normally between a root and a fifth, if we're doing major and minor stuff, we have 5 notes or 4 notes, you know. But then in something like Mothra, instead you get this many between it. So it divides the space differently, basically. And when you keep that going, it ends up creating a natural sort of 7 or 6 tone scale. It's a hexatonic, super major hexatonic. It's very foggy like that, right? Now, what is Mothrian? Well, Mothrian is the vertical structure of this stuff. So I don't do it in a tempered, I don't do the tempered thing. That doesn't make any sense to me. I view it as the vertical chord. And if I keep going with that chord, it has all these extensions. So for example, one of the upper extensions is a natural 9. That does not exist in the other stuff. It exists in smaller inversions or whatever. But so if I play that lower structure stuff with a natural 9, that's like super Mothra, right? That's like super Lydian. It's like a Lydian that keeps going. Oops, I'm sorry, wrong note. Right? That's like Lydian that keeps going. Super Mothrian is when you have Mothra that keeps going. But not exactly that. It's the upper structure. It's the vertical understanding, the chord scale interpretation of this tonality. Only reason why I decided to continue, framing it around Moth is just because it's a pre-existing term that existed in the microtonal community, Mothra temperament. So the other option was Slendric, like Slendrian, which kind of sounds cool, but I kind of don't really like that because yes, like Gamelan does use like some of this in the Slendro scale, but it's not the same thing, and I feel it's a little weird to like culturally be like, this is Slendro, or like Slender, this is Slendro-ish. I don't know. It feels a little weird. So Mothra feels a bit more divorced from everything. And yeah, so super Mothrian is just Mothra chords that keep going further and deeper, and then understanding the vertical structure around them. Yeah, because that really helps you space them. That's what allows me to connect them. Like for example, if I know super Mothra 9 has a natural 9, what else has a natural 9? Major does. Right? So that's a bridge point right there between the two vertical structures. I can be in some like Mothrian thing, like, which isn't actually in the little like 6-note subset, and you might not do it unless you might not use that as part unless you're like so it's treating it as a mother chord, a geometric mother chord, which I'll eventually do a stream on. But it's like, yeah, so I got that natural 9, and because I'm thinking of the vertical structure and its summation, that lets me just pivot back into mean tone. It lets me bridge these things together because they're vertical structures. They're using the same notes. So it's like, where do the vertical structures connect and don't connect and bridge and such and forth. I listen to Eurybia a lot. Thank you. I like that piece. I'm glad you like it. Yeah, I know space and pitch. Like, the whole tempering thing is such a meme. Like, it really is such a giant meme. Like, it's cool and it's useful, but it's hot. There's a bazillion reasons. I'll maybe do a stream on it. I'm trying to be a lot less like anti-temperament. I'm not anti-temperament. I make temperaments. I found a cool one the other day that I called Heleven. Helevenism is the comma or whatever. It's the difference between two 2934s and an 11th harmonic. It's like a 0.2 cent difference. So, but it's just such a meme. Like, it's just, you know, it really is such a meme. Okay. Whereas like that, yeah, vertical structure is not a meme. It just is what it is. You can't really avoid it. More like the right note. That was beautiful. Thank you. Are you impressed by polytonality? What do you mean, polytonality? In what sense? I'm not... polytonality has a pretty specific meaning. You can be polytonal in lots of different ways. Nothing I'm doing is like... Well, I mean, I do polytonal stuff, but like the super Mothrian extension thing, like, for example, flat 1 Mothrian over like 1 major 7, that's technically polytonal. But not because it's microtonal, but because it's polychordal. There's two independent harmonic phenomena in the spectra occurring, which are intended to be simultaneously like different. So like, for example, if I played like C major 7, and then I also played like F semi-sharp major 7, now I'm being polytonal. So how do I feel about polytonality? It's pretty cool. I don't know, it depends. I like to find very useful polytonal structures. That's actually pretty cool, and I like that. Any lesser known composers? Yeah, I actually shouted out a bunch earlier. Yeah, so. Scale forms a helix? What scale? Are you talking about Mothrian? It kind of does on a Lumatone. On a layout, on a grid layout, it's not a helix, but that's a weird thing. That's the first place my brain went, because it kind of does. When you play Mothra on a normal Boston Cat layout in 31, you end up with these weird like chains that look like that almost look like you could make a helix out of them or something. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but I don't know what you mean, like scale forms like helix. Do you mean like spiraling dimensions on each other? Because that's kind of cool. Okay, it's probably time for me to get off here soon. I'll probably play for a little bit longer. Let me move this out of the way, and I'll play a little bit more 12-tone piano before I wrap up. Okay, let's see. Thanks for doing this live stream, Alexandra White. It's so good to see your name in chat. I hope you're really well. I remember you very fondly. If you're who I think you are. Yes. Thanks for doing this live stream. Is there a schedule that you update anywhere, like a website where you're on Patreon where you're streaming again? Yeah, I'm going to be making one. I made one for my voice Patreon. I'll be making one for my music Patreon. So I'll announce those streams whenever I go live. It would be good for me to definitely announce those. I need to do more organizational stuff. I'll try to do that. Yeah. Here's a link to the Patreon once again, in case anyone wants to support my music work. I'll play a little bit more music, take a few more questions, and then I'll be off for the evening. My next stream, I can schedule. Well, that's the thing. If you're all here showing up and support and helping, I mean, I'll stream all day long. Like, I'm down to make streaming like what I do. You know what I mean? But it's one of those things where it's like I want to stream like music stuff. You know what I mean? I don't want to like be like, I'm down to stream whatever, but music and video games are what I want to. And arguing with people on the internet about like stupid politics stuff, that's kind of fun too. What's your Discord? It's part of my Patreon. So right now it's a private Discord, $3 and up, but eventually it'll be public. So yeah, just right now I'm building it. So it's at the Patreon link that I provided there. But I post all my thoughts there before they're published to the world. I mean, there's so much music theory there already, and I'm about to publish some more. I actually have like a whole... Yes, my music Discord is different than my voice Discord as of the last week and a half. They split. So I split my music Discord from my voice Discord because they're totally different things. You know, it didn't really make sense to me to have them together anymore. Like I want to like be able to focus on my music without the connotations of the other stuff that my other stuff deals with, you know, and I love that stuff and I'm engaged with it, but my music's just like my music, you know, it doesn't, so yeah. But when I first started those things, both of those, my music and my voice stuff, were so small, it didn't really matter. It was just like, this is just what I do. If you want to support me, come here. And then now it's like, you know, yeah, and so now it's like, if you stream more, the audience will come fast. Yeah, it kind of seems like that. I don't know about the audience will come fast on YouTube streaming or whatever, but I definitely have been blown away by the like reception of my shorter videos, the rare chords one. And then I've never had a TikTok. I've kind of been an anti-TikTok. I actually got canceled for a TikTok take on Twitter. Not really canceled, but just like it was a thing a couple months ago or whatever. But like I made a TikTok for my music stuff. So if you want, you can follow me on there. I've never used TikTok like ever. Like what I mean, I've used it, but I've never posted is what I mean. I made a TikTok. I posted 5 videos. I've posted these while I'm on the toilet in the morning pooping. I'm not even joking. Every morning. So 5 days in a row, posted them. I've already got like 25,000 views on there. So I've already got like 350 followers. I don't know. It's actually growing faster than like almost any of my other stuff, which is absurd. So I don't really want to do TikTok. So that's my secret in the morning. And I'm using the bathroom. That's where I'm taking over the TikTok universe. Let's see here. Favorite time signature? Is that a blank question? No, you're welcome to ask whatever. My favorite time signature is probably like the one I naturally jam in the most is probably like a 5 and 7 alternating. I tend to play in like I don't know, meter. I have a whole thing about meter. That's kind of a thing. I struggled for a long time to jam with other people because I would like always play the wrong, like I would just like play rhythms that like didn't, like people would get lost when they play rhythms with me. It's actually really frustrating. And I found some musicians, like the saxophone player I work with, who I released the Circles of Indigo jazz record with in December. There are some musicians who can follow and hang and they just, you know, latch onto it. But I tend to get these things where like I play in 4, so it feels like 4, but like the divisions are in like 7 or 5, and then inside those 7 and 5 divisions, there's like a division of 3 that's the actual thing, the pieces that comes in front, but I'm behind playing on like an alternating 7 and 5, which feels like a 4. So I don't really know what that is or what. I had a really hard time early on when I was first beginning my journeys in composition, learning to write the rhythms that I was feeling or how to interpret them, because everything I had like read, like music scores, it was like kind of duple, triple, whatever, kind of sometimes asymmetric, but like I just groove asymmetrically. I just kind of have, I think it has to do with the progressive metal background. I grew up being a progressive metal drummer. And it's not like some like, ooh, time signature, it's just like, if you just hear me play, like, I mean, a good example is Stephen Weigel. Stephen Weigel did an incredible transcription of my Lumatone performance, Arrival. And like, I had no clue what to expect. You know, Stephen Weigel sends it over and I go look, I'm like, damn, is this really what I'm playing? And then I read it. It's like, yeah, that's like the timing that I'm using. And it's not because it's like some complex time I'm trying to express. It's just like, that's the rhythms I'm feeling. And it just doesn't, it's not barred. It doesn't bar properly because it's just the vibe, you know? Just how long did I press that note enough? Do I need to press it 2 more times? 3 more? I don't know. It's got to feel right. And then I can move to something else, you know? So TikTok loves Microtonal. It seems like it. I've been pretty blown away by it. So I don't know. I'll keep posting stuff in the morning in the bathroom. So I refuse to put any more effort into TikTok than what I put into YouTube and then just posting there. I think that my favorite time signature lately to write in, like in a practical sense, has been 6/4. Kind of follows that, like, if like over a thing, it can feel like 4, but then you're actually in 3, but then I actually phrase across it in 7. It's kind of like these like nested meters. Did you ever learn figured bass? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, figured bass is like one of the biggest influences on me, period. Like, because I'm a vertical, I'm a macro harmonic thinker. That's how I would describe myself when it comes to harmony. I'm macro harmonic. And that has a lot of implications, but figured bass is one of the first macro harmonic expressions that we see in Western music. And then also, like, we have chord scale, which is a clear, like, it's the same thing. Chord scale and figured bass they're intending to do the exact same thing, which is to map the vertical structure in a way that's not too restrictive, but signifies to the player how the vertical spectrum needs to be aligned to express a certain thing, right? So like when you see major 7 sharp 11, our brains just say, oh, that's probably Lydian, so I can voice it like it's Lydian, right? But the reality is it's Lydian because the way I'm voicing the spectrum. Because suddenly I could say, actually, no, I'm not playing Lydian. What are you doing? I'm playing major 7 flat 5. And now it's going to have a different context. It'll have a different vertical structure that it expresses. So the vertical structure is so important. Why does Dorian sound like Dorian and not Aeolian, right? Why does low, and not modularly, because that's the thing, is people think about modes as like a movement through, but that's intra-harmonic movement. That's very important. That's akin to what I do in the harmonic series, learning to move inside the harmonic series and figure out what's in it to connect. That's like, for example, like Dorian has a major 4 chord, right? But like that's inside of Dorian. The actual thing that's going to make the Dorian is the vertical structure. I mean, the horizontal structure, it can't say Dorian on its own unless the vertical structure hangs over in our mind, or the shadow pitch, expresses some context that we're not hearing or something. That's what makes it Dorian, not the like chord progressions or whatever. So the vertical structure matters so much. Okay, folks, I think that's it for me. I think it's time for food. I think it's time for a break. I think it's time for sleep. I still need to edit the rare chords video for tonight and get that done, because I want to get that done before the weekend. And the piece is pretty much finished. I just need to finish the visual. We'll see. So you said, to me, it's always been the tonal center that makes the mode. Does that though? I agree with you, but what does that mean? Because, for example, my tonal center could be C right here, but then I'm not at my tonal center anymore, but you still hear it as rooted. Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, that's how I do it too. Parallelism. Yeah. That's the vertical structure stuff. I see what you mean. The tonal center makes the mode. Yeah. Absolutely. It should not be relative interactions around modes. Yeah. That's the vertical structure that you're talking about. They have different verticals. Same note sets are different vertical mappings, different spacings of the tones themselves. And that's what gives it its unique flavor and its unique identity. The harmonic series is the same way. That's why it's like the temperament thing is absurd, because like there's just vertical structure in there that you're not just going to fake by getting a decent approximation of 4, 5, 6 and then modulating to every other key. You don't just get the other stuff. It's a totally different vertical structure. I will buy your Udemy course. Thank you. I'll just tell you right now, if you just join my Patreon, you will learn way more from me on my Discord than you would learn from me in some Udemy course that I make. Seriously. I can't express it enough. If you're interested in the stuff I do, join the Patreon, because I literally talk about this. I'm willing to answer questions about this constantly. It's not like I'm always posting and sharing and thinking about this. And you will learn way more on that platform than you would if I were to make a static video series. Maybe, unless I take a long time with a static video series. I'm convinced I'll join the Patreon. Thank you so much, Mark. I really appreciate that, and I can't wait to see you on there. And I'll be looking forward to discussing harmony with you and everyone else on there as well. Like I said, there's entire essays of stuff that I'm in the process of putting and populating the server with. There's tons of chords. I mean, a lot of my primodal stuff there. I mean, there's primodality theories there that are on there that are clearly explained that aren't anywhere else, just because I'm writing there. You know what I mean? You're basically getting access to my composition books as they're forming. Not all of it, because there's like some that's like 80 pages that I have to still dump into channels and stuff like that as the Patreon develops or whatever. But you know, you're basically getting back end access to like my books, my what I call, and what I've always lived around, called a Zibodoniere. I don't speak Italian, but I learned this word a long time ago. In fact, it's literally pinned to, it's like one of the only bookmarks I have, Wikipedia, Zibodoniere. It means a heap of things. That's the thing, as a composer, I've produced a pile of stuff that is so big, like I can't even like share it with you. Like the score, I've pages and pages of sheet music written in the back that I don't, what am I even gonna do with that? Scan it and then do something with it? I don't know, it just exists. And then there's so many like documents I've written, so many things, pages of things I've never finished or shared, like pieces that I've taught, chords that like I've archived, and things I've written, and philosophies I want to talk about, and it's like I don't know where, I didn't know anywhere to put it. So that's called a Zibodoniere, and I think every artist should have one. I think it's one of the most important things that an artist can have, is their Zibodoniere. And so you're basically getting access to mine through my Patreon. So yeah. And it also gives me a place to organize my thoughts, which has been really productive the last week and a half doing it. I've made a lot of big breakthroughs in terms of my structures of stuff and such. Ooh, interesting. I was like a interesting. I was thinking about the circle of fifths and how that would extend to 24 tet. Well, the circle of fifths doesn't extend to 24 tet unless you do what you just said, a division of neutrals. Exactly. That's what Mothra is often referred to as the temperament. Once again, temperaments are so ridiculous. Why is there Mothra and Mohaha and Suhajira? It's not that. Okay, you map to like an abstract ratio in a circular one-dimensional space, and you're representing it throughout more dimensions. It's just so basically that's the neutral tonality that you're talking about. In 24 equal, the fifth gets split in half, and because of that, you end up getting this really cool pattern where you can sort of neutral around. I'm not actually sure if it would be circular, and it would be circular in 24 with all tones represented. Yeah, but so it's a pretty cool tonality. Can you spell that? You mean Mothra? It's like the Girian stuff, like super Gira stuff I was playing with. That's a 31 vertical for it. Basically, it's neutral tonality. So, yeah. Oh, the loose place to put art stuff. Got you. Zibodoniere. It's more or less like like, for example, imagine if some like Renaissance painter died in like the I don't know, whatever. This is like died like let's say like even sooner. Let's say like in like the 1600s or something, right? Someone dies, like a late painter. When you go into their house, what are you going to find? You can find manuscripts, you're going to find paintbrush, you're going to find dirty stuff, you're going to find everything. It's just a mess. And that's like every artist, I feel, has that at some capacity, at some level. And I think it's an important thing for an artist to just have, is like a collection of the things that you've made. Like, you know, even if they're not things you plan to reference or use, or they have value, it's just like, it's the stuff you've made, and it kind of journeys with you throughout your life. At least I've always felt that way. Some people want to get rid of everything, but when it comes to my music thoughts, I'm a bit of a hoarder, because it's like, what else do I even like have or whatever, you know? Dusty digital, that's what I'm saying. Oh, you would not believe. I mean, I have like music illustrations from like 2014 when I was teaching music theory a lot that are like so good. That's like, if I can just like show like a couple thousand people this, it would help a lot of people's music thing. But it's like I haven't really had an audience until more recently with music, so. They say Prince has hundreds of unreleased. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like, it's that Zibodoniere. And think about his instruments he left behind, and his thoughts, and his fucking just everything, you know? That's like part of what it is to be an artist for me. It's not necessarily to have things or material possessions, but just like, it's about like this thing you leave in your like wake of living, you know? Like it's like, that's the thing, is my music thing, it's I've never really thought of it as like a job. I would like it to be my job, because it's like what I want to do, but it's like I've always thought of it as like I'm living in music. It's like a path I'm living through, and like as I walk that path, like things are just left behind me. And so it's really interesting to go back years later and listen to the things that are there, and it's like, wow, I was at that point in my path. Like, what a crazy journey, you know? Da, dum, da, dum, da, da, way, da, da, ba, dum, ba. That's why 12 is really good. Your vocal style reminds me of Esperanza Spalding. That is a huge compliment, and I didn't even know that was a compliment that I'd get, or a compliment that I would even get. She was a big influence on me when I was younger, first getting into jazz. I've never really thought thank you. I think she has a beautiful voice, so I'll take that as a great compliment. Yeah, Sam Weiss spelled it right. Zibodoniere. It's like Zibodone is what it reads in English. I'm pretty sure it's pronounced like Zibodoniere in Italian. I'm almost certain. But yeah, it's Italian for a heap of things. It's just the shit that you just make, you know? It's your expression through the process. And are you still doing voice lessons? Yes, very frequently. Quite a lot, actually. Yeah, of course. Love doing those. I mostly do those. I have group classes now, and I've got my individual lessons. I've got some consults available as well. I feel like the album Glad the Fact. I am not familiar with that album at all. Should I? Is it a Esperanza Spalding album? Maybe it's one that I've slept on a little bit. My favorite thing to do is to just sing randomly and play random notes without looking at the piano and just make it work. It's just boom ba da ba ba boom ba ba da 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 do da ba da ba da ba dum ba e a dum wa dum dum ba do dum ba bo da ba 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 da ba. I love doing that. Singing random notes, trying to just make them work, make it work. Hear it before you hear it. Hear it before it's possible to hear. Before you can even imagine hearing it, you try to hear it. But on a level that's like precognitive hearing. Yeah, I love music. It's so cool. Do people tell you your free and sound tranquil? Yeah, I definitely have gotten that. I just would you ever want to teach in a university? Maybe. It depends on how much they pay me, and not just about the money, but just, is it a good opportunity for me in my life to do that? Like, I would love to teach more people. I think I can just make my own university. I don't think I have to teach at other people's universities. That's kind of what I've already done with voice. I could teach you more than people at college trying to teach you what I teach in voice will teach you, that's for sure. Same with microtonality. So, I don't know. I would definitely be down to teach at university at some point, assuming I was like later on in my life and things are, whatever, things are like, okay, my family's taken care of and I managed to, be okay. And then, yeah, I'd love to teach. I actually have a lot of passion, respect, and admiration, almost like a spiritual reverence for like the academic tradition or being in the lineage of, you know what I mean? Of the, like the halls of thought. That's really powerful to me, and so I do have a great reverence for academia. It's not exactly the smartest decision as a musician. If I could like stream all day and like do that, like I would rather do that, right? Or if I could like teach people through my Patreon platform, I'd rather do that. Or there's a whole lot that gets entailed with teaching at a university where it's like, so but yeah, I would totally be down to do that. Okay, folks, I think it's time. It's time to end it here. This is a great stream. I'm really happy with the new setup. I gotta figure out how to charge some of the lights and such. But I hope you all like the new setup. There will be more. It's gonna continue to grow. I'm gonna have a different stream for my trans voice lesson stuff too. That's gonna have a whole different setup, whole different set. So yeah, I'm sort of in the. Yeah, I was actually about to say that. Fion's right. So Fion just said a university in Mars, asterisk. I kind of made a public pledge to myself. Actually, you can see it on my Facebook page, my music page back in 2012. I've always kind of had like an internal mission. Like, I would really like to open like the first like conservatory of music on Mars, or like an off-world colony. So I really do plan to do that. And if whatever like sort of notoriety I gain on Earth for my music or whatever, I intend to leverage that for like harbor and passage to bring instruments with me into space. Like, I'd like to bring like a Steinway piano to Mars, and it's like, it's hard for them to do that because they don't have the cargo space, but I don't need a lot of cargo space. I'm going to bring instruments, right? So if I can get in this position where I've got some of that clout and, the brands are like respecting me or whatever, like, I would love to, whenever humans start going off-world, if humans start going off-world, to do that so that I could help sort of create a society that positions music in a way around community and open free expression and sort of encouraging people to express themselves in different ways and not necessarily, not being like, oh, it's only microtonal here on Mars. I would never do that. Like, just let people express themselves in a way that is conducive to them finding access to the source, which I think is an important thing. So yeah. Anyways, I could play music. I mean, I do play music all night long. That's why you should subscribe to my Patreon, because if you want me to play music all life long, then I can do that with your help. So anyways, thank you all so much for the stream tonight. It's been a pleasure. I'll do more of these. Next one will be a bit more, well, like I said, I'll do a stream specifically around teaching some stuff. I'll teach you how to read 31 notation, so you can read my scores. So not just my scores, but you can work on it yourself. It's been a great pleasure. Would you be open to having your mind live on after you pass? I'm not sure. I've never thought about that. I'll next time I stream, if you remember that question, ask me and I'll have an answer for it. Because I'm thinking about it right now and I'm thinking about my perspectives on it changing, but I kind of need to that's an interesting question. I'm thankful for your interesting question as well, because interesting questions provide a lot of space to think on. So y'all be thinking about that. It's been a real pleasure, everyone. Once again, before I go, I will plug my Patreon. If you want to see more microtonal stuff like what I do, if you want to support my music, if you want me to do more music stuff, if you want to make it easier for me to spend my life doing music, here's the place. If you want to get background access to all my little secret writings, all my little theories, my little crackpot stuff writing on the board, wow, this is a crazy thing. It's there for you. I'll eventually have my discography up there, everything, blah, 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 blah. And I'll be streaming more. And so I'll catch you for the next stream, okay? It's been a great pleasure. Thank you all so much. And I will see you around the Discord. Bye-bye. And cheers. And have a most beautiful, blessed rest of your day and evening, wherever you are in the world. Take care. Bye. Have a great day.